Hey there, it's John Chen, and it's finally here. If you don't mind, we're going to check out this gallery. Everybody, thank you for coming to the Engaging Virtual Meeting Conference 3.0. So many people online. Again, my name is John Chen. I'll be your host. I am the author of a little book. Let me just do a quick little intro here. For those who don't know me, many of you, thank you so much for those who do. So I'm the author of a little good book called Engaging Virtual Meetings. And over the next 5 days, we're going to have 20 hours of training with the top virtual speakers that I know about. But how did I get here? Well, I used to do this little thing called team building. It was based on geocaching. It was a great face-to-face business where I teach team and leadership skills. By the way, this is my 25th year of my company, right? Did you know that less than 4% of companies ever make it 4%? And then this thing came around in March of 2020. And this is what my March of 2020 looked like. 15 canceled programs. But you know, I knew through my training that we should lean on our past. And this is what's in my past over here. I was on a little service called Prodigy. If you know what Prodigy is, chat Prodigy in there. Basically, it was the first online meeting space that was graphical at a time when modems used to make noise. In fact, so for decades, I've been trying to get people to get online. And so I even wrote this book called 50 Digital Team Building Games in 2011. So I've been trying to tell people that we could do this. Get online, do valuable work, save the travel and expenses, have dinner with your family and kids at the end. And people said, that's a great idea, John, but here's a bunch of money and you need to fly to Orlando. So I'm sitting in my office with nothing to do. I don't make vaccines, but instead, I know how to make your virtual meeting better. I put this on Eventbrite, and over 5,000 people took this class in 2020. Publisher came around and said, hey, you want to write your second book? And I said, yeah, let's do that. And what I feel like is the cruelest joke from my publisher, they said, we don't know how long coronavirus is going to last, so we're going to make you rush the book. I wrote this book in 9 weeks. So it came out in October 2020, hit the #1 Amazon hot new release, and now I spend the majority of my time designing, producing, as well as speaking at and emceeing virtual meetings. Here's some fun people I've got to work with. Jay Bhattacingya, author of The Walking Dead. Patrick Lencioni, 6 million books, including 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love, and Julia Roberts played her in a movie. And of course, our good friend Damon John sold a billion-dollar clothing company, FUBU, and is now one of the sharks. So for all of you who are on here, I'm going to give you my #1 tip for speakers. Since you came here for tips and techniques, here's my #1 tip for speakers, anyone who's speaking on a virtual meeting. That's right. Stand up. I love there's some people in our audience who are standing up now too. Thank you. You know, the funny part is all those famous people actually forgot about this tip, all right, which is this, stand up. I believe you can get in the top 20% and get an advantage for standing up when you present. So you can do this way, or let me just share a little bit about what I did over the last 2 years. I feel like summer camp. What did I do at my summer camp? So one is I made a green screen that was big enough so that you could walk through it. And the last piece here is this. This is what I've been working on over the last 24 months, is building this so we can produce conferences like this for you and do them in a super engaging way and doing new things that we've never done before. By the way, I don't aspire for you to build something like this, all right? Because I know this is not for everybody. But what I can tell you is that I hope this inspires you to do one more thing for your setup. It is so easy that it's 2022 right now that you can just be comfortable saying, I know how to log in, I know how to unmute my mic now. And what I'm telling you is that if you want to be engaging and if you want to take your virtual to the next level, think about what's one thing you can take from this conference that you learn and put it into your setup. You know, people like Kendall Cox actually just got a whole new office, so it just gave her a whole new landscape, and I can't wait to see all the things that she does with that. Anyways, that's a little bit about me. I do want to open with this, and I'd like to open with a land acknowledgement. So our Chief Seattle here in Seattle in 1854 said this: every part of this soil is sacred in the estimation of my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove has been hallowed by some sad or happy event in days long vanquish. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land that I'm standing on and that we're gathering in here virtually is within the ancestral territory of the people of Clearwater, Clear Saltwater, or the Suquamish people. They were expert fishermen, canoe builders, basket weavers. They live in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea, as they have for thousands of years. Here they live and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855. Thank you so much. We love and respect the land that we're on here. And now, with that, I'd love to open this conference with two of my very good friends. This one, she is the Latinx who met me virtually, has rocked many of my conferences. She's one of the top karaoke singers that I know. And in addition to that, she's one of the most amazing business people I know. She's also authored her first book this year. Please put your hands in the air for the one and only Jo Welch. Hello, Jo. How are you? Excellent. And she's joined by...
Hi, everybody.
She's joined by her friend EJ. Let me grab my description here. I got a key piece here. EJ. Oh yes, EJ. He's a deaf black actor and an advocate. And today they're going to perform the national anthem, and he's going to perform from the lens of a black man in America. Let's welcome EJ to the stage. Hello, EJ. Excellent, Jo. Whenever you're ready, let's take it away. For those, you can either stand or you can also just place your hand on your heart as we do here in America our national anthem. Thank you so much.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Let's give it up to Jo and EJ. Thank you so much, Jo. Thank you, EJ. By the way, Jo actually performed that at a major league baseball park recently. Jo, which park was that?
The both of us actually performed it at Fenway Park on September 4th. And we were in front of 32,000 people, and I believe the Red Sox won that day. It is an honor to get to be able to perform with EJ, and we're hoping that if other people have conferences or anything, that you think about us, because we would love to be a part of your experience. John, thank you for the opportunity to share this today.
Thank you so much, Jo.
And
I believe
EJ saying thank you.
There's two parts here, right? This is applause, and of course, this is thank you. Is that correct? Thank you. Yes, excellent. Thank you again,
And
Jo.
EJ saying that is correct.
Thank you, EJ. Appreciate it. All right, coming up here too, this is one of the things that we look to do here on Virtual, which is how can we create magic inside of Virtual? Let's see. Oh, wait, one more second here. So we're working on creating Virtual in here. And this gentleman has been with me for all three conferences. We've become good friends over the years. He's found a way to really do something magical during his time here during COVID, and he's been a big advocate for the book. Let's welcome, put your hands together for the one and only Jeff Evans, virtual magician.
I see mind freak like, what's up, man?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the amazing magic of Jeff Evans.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Since I had to reboot my computer, just kind of give me one of these if you can hear my audio okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Hey, thanks for being here. This is going to be an interactive program. I'll also be going over how I use OBS, which is a special free program that you can use to add video like you just saw to your programs, bring up graphics, do cool transitions, use multiple cameras. So if you have any questions about any of the technology I'm using, just put it in the chat box and I'll definitely be going over some of that. But this is also going to be a magical experience. So if everyone would put down your mouse and hold out your hands in front of you and copy me. And if you do what I do, something strange will happen. Point your thumbs towards the ground. Perfect. And then loop your hands over and clasp your hands together. So basically you're holding your own hands. And if your thumbs are pointing towards the ground, like I look out and I see them automatically, that's good. It means we're synchronized. And then copy me. Try and point your thumbs to one side, whichever way is easier. Point them to one side. Good. You might be able to go all the way sideways. If you're super flexible, maybe you can point your thumbs towards the ceiling. All right, who's with me? Who's with me? Wait a minute, hold on. This is a joke. I only do that because I have two left hands. Yeah, this hand is actually photoshopped in, but it looks really good. Shortly after the pandemic started, I was using OBS and a couple of my performer friends said, hey, how are you making your shows look a little bit fancier than just using Zoom? And I put together this next video and I want to share the video with you. And then once I do the video, if you have any questions, like I say, put it in the chat box and I'll answer them. So this is kind of an introduction to OBS if you're not familiar with it. So many meetings are happening virtually and so many are happening via Zoom. Some of my friends have asked me, hey, how are you making your videos and your magic shows kind of look professional? And the answer is I've been using Open Broadcaster software. My friend Louis Fox first mentioned it to me. I went online, I downloaded it. It's free, obsproject.com. And I want to give you kind of a brief overview of what it is, what the features are. And then if you're interested, you can go online and there's tons of tutorials. This is not a how-to. It's just, hey, these are some of the things you can do with it. Once you download it, you can't use OBS and immediately use it in Zoom. There are two kind of important things that you need to do. You need to download a virtual camera. This is free, but you start the virtual camera in OBS and then you go into Zoom, and in Zoom, you can choose your video source, and usually you probably choose your web camera or your capture card if you have a capture card. But instead, you're going to choose this virtual camera, and that gets the video from OBS into Zoom. Then you're going to do the same thing for your audio. You're going to download these virtual audio cables. Same thing in Zoom, rather than choosing your microphone or your web camera or your computer audio for the sound, you're going to choose this virtual audio cable, and that gets the sound from OBS into Zoom. A couple other things you're going to want for a more professional video setup, and that is you're going to want to use a nice camera like this. You're going to need a video capture card, most likely, to get the HDMI signal from your camera into your computer. The HDMI cable coming out of your camera is not recognized as a web camera to your computer, so that's why you need this capture card. Fortunately, the prices have come way down. When I bought my capture card that I installed in my computer, it was like $150. Now you can buy them for $20. I don't know if it's the same quality or not. Also, make sure that your camera is supported. Sometimes cameras, like I've got a video camera, that when I try and use it, it says standby or recording, or it shows the battery level on it. So it's not very good for a web camera. So do some research before you buy a camera. Another thing that I'm using, because I'm using multiple cameras, when I do my shows, I have an overhead camera, I've got a main camera. Sometimes I use a third camera if I'm doing more of a stand-up show. And in that case, I've got a switcher. In fact, I'm going to show you what my video setup looks like. This is the switcher, and I can switch between this camera and my overhead camera just by clicking a button here. I also have a large monitor so that I can have OBS full screen and Zoom full screen when I'm doing that. Or if you're not broadcasting to Zoom, you might be broadcasting to Facebook Live or YouTube Live or Twitch or whatever. And that's another nice thing. Once you've learned how to use OBS, you can stream to other platforms. This would be a great time. I'm going to switch over and show you what the OBS software looks like. When you open OBS, it's going to look something like this. You're just going to see big black screens. You're going to be making scenes and then adding sources to the scenes. So for instance, when I click on Sony Cam, my main camera shows up. That's because as the source, I chose the HDMI capture card, which is right here. Now, other sources might be text, like this, right here. It could be graphics overlaid. In that case, this image 4, those are my graphics. Here in the sources, if I click the little eyeball, I can make those invisible if I want. I can also click and drag those anywhere I want on the screen. I can grab the handles and resize them. So it's really slick and pretty easy to use. Video. A lot of times people ask, how do you integrate recorded video with live video? And with OBS, it's super simple. When I click on this button, it's going to play video. So suddenly you can share video with other viewers on Zoom, even if you haven't been given permission to share your desktop. You can do it with OBS. Oh, then the next important thing, huge tip, over to the right, you'll see settings, set hotkeys. Right here, I'm going to scroll down and show you. Here by my Sony camera, I have switched to scene set to 1. So my hotkey is number 1 on my keypad. Number 3 is the Sony Cam plus social media. So I'm going to exit out of this. If I just take my finger and I hit button 3, it brings up those graphics. If I hit button 1, it takes the graphics down, just goes to my regular camera. Now, the next really cool thing is this, the Stream Deck. And I'm going to switch to, I'm going to use the Stream Deck to show you how it works. When I hit this button, it's going to switch to my overhead camera. And then I'm going to, oh wait, there, okay. This is what it looks like. Basically, these are all hotkeys, but they're user selectable, and I can name it exactly what it does. So for instance, if I wanted to play a video file, I just touch this. Or if I want to do, let's go back to the overhead camera. If I wanted to play a sound effect, I can go to this page and I hit this. So this thing, super valuable. It's made a huge difference in my streams. And then another thing that I just recently learned is that they have foot pedals. So now you can set your hotkeys for foot pedals. You just step and it can change your camera. It can bring up graphics. So there are a lot of possibilities with OBS. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, or if you need to hire me as a consultant, I could probably even do that. Thanks for watching. So that was all a pre-recorded video. If you have any specific questions, like I say, put it in the chat box. I'm happy to answer any questions. I should also mention that since I'm a magician, I don't use virtual backgrounds. I prefer to use cloth or paper backgrounds, which is kind of cool because for different themed programs or different holidays, of course, I've got Christmas ones. I do magic shows for kids, so I have a kid's birthday one. I have a Harry Potter themed one. And it's super easy if I'm doing multiple programs in a day. All I have to do is literally just pull it down and then have the next one set up ready to go. I should also show you what my setup, kind of my studio setup looks like. And this is also pre-recorded just because it was easier for me to do the video pre-recorded. But here's what I'm actually seeing. Here's the backstage view of what I'm actually seeing, and pay close attention to this device, which is actually a teleprompter. So my video card has two outputs, and one output goes to the teleprompter and the other one goes to my main monitor. And by just putting the Zoom box into the teleprompter's monitor, then I'm able to look directly at you, the audience, and yet I'm looking directly into the camera. So there's a video camera directly behind the teleprompter screen. This is the way I'm able to have multiple backdrops. I have metal closet rods that are creating kind of a grid along the ceiling. It's just a cloth or fabric backdrop attached by magnets. So when I pull on it, it easily drops down. And most of the time I'm doing shows, I'm actually just projecting, I just use colored lights that I can change the color of the lights onto a gray background, and it creates kind of a nice effect. I've got different rolls of the paper. So if I wanted to have a white background or a chroma key green background, which I don't actually use chroma key colors because as a magician, I don't want people to think that I'm using video special effects rather than, I want them to think that what they're seeing is real video, not manipulated video. However, sometimes I've used the chroma key, like when I'm doing video projects and I just want to have a cool virtual background. There are a couple of magic tricks that I do in my virtual show that I actually can't do in my real show because there are some video tricks, and I'm going to perform this for you and then I'm going to expose it. I'm going to expose it just like the Masked Magician. I don't know if you remember, like 20 years ago when I was getting started in magic, there was a guy, a magician, who would put on a mask because magicians are not supposed to reveal the secrets. So he would don this mask that looked something kind of like this, and then he would perform a big illusion, and then he would reveal how it was done, which is exactly what I'm going to do. But just to kind of set the stage, check out this video of the Masked Magician.
Suddenly, the ball begins to rise. The magical spell is causing the ball to float beneath the scarf. Okay, how did the magician make the shiny ball seem to float beneath that magic cloth? You know there's a secret, and this one is simpler than you might imagine.
Crazy, right? So now I'm going to perform a trick and reveal the secret behind it. It's the floating rope trick. So check it out. Already the magic is beginning. No, there's no like wires inside of the rope, and yet it's apparently defying gravity. It floats a little higher. And to prove that there are no wires, no magnets or trickery, I will place the ring entirely around the rope, and it remains floating. Sometimes it floats a little bit higher. Sometimes it floats closer towards the ceiling, and higher and higher. And sometimes when I snap my fingers, the rope flies up and sticks on the ceiling. Sometimes I take the ring and I snap my fingers and the ring flies up and it sticks on the ceiling too. Wait a minute. Wait, you guys, that's not the ceiling. That's the floor. I'm upside down. Come on, come on. The things I'll go to for a magic trick. So some of you, this was kind of different than a normal performance where that entire bit was pre-recorded, but normally I do that live. I just wanted to show you a couple things in my studio, and my cameras are fixed in place here. I don't usually move them around. But anyway, that's something, obviously I don't do that in a regular in-person show. But let's do something for all of you right now. I want all of you to think of a number between 3 and 12. Think of any number between 3 and 12. I'm going to bring up a graphic on my monitor. It has a bunch of pictures of fruits. But you're going to lock your number in, a number between 3 and 12. It's your magic number, and don't change it. I want you to find the little circle where it says start here and just point your finger to where it says start here. You're going to move your number going in a clockwise direction, whatever it was. So if your number was 4, you would count 1, 2, 3, you would be on the watermelon, 4, you would end on the pear. But I want you to do that for your secret number. So go ahead and do that now. Perfect. So right now you are all pointing at some sort of a fruit. Now we could stop right there, but let's make it even a little more random. This time I want you to move counterclockwise, but use your same secret number. So whatever number you used the first time, use that same number, but move counterclockwise and do it now. At this point, all of you are thinking of some sort of a fruit, and I want you to just gaze into your camera lens. I'm going to use some special glasses. This is a high technology that allows me to see into your innermost thoughts. Perfect. Good. I'm actually zooming in right now. It's like, ooh, wait. Pumpkin. Is it a pumpkin? If you're thinking of a pumpkin, give me one of these. Yay. And weirdest of all, I actually made a prediction before I began the trick. I made a prediction. This is just a table, but it's a really skinny table, so you know there's nothing hidden under it. I made my prediction in a briefcase, and inside of the briefcase, I left one fruit. A pumpkin is actually a fruit. I predicted that you would all be thinking of a pumpkin. Thanks, John. Hey, and by the way, this is not a virtual pumpkin. I also like adding sound effects, and sometimes I'll also add little applause transitions that look like this. And I'm able to do it seamlessly. I'm also able, I don't know if you noticed a moment ago when I zoomed in a little bit on my camera, I'm able to do this without even reaching for my Stream Deck. Although I could, it's programmed into the Stream Deck, but these are the foot switches. They're USB foot switches, and they're pretty cheap. I think they're like 25 bucks. And each one of these pedals triggers something different. Like if I want to be able to see what people are putting in the chat box, it brings it up, and I'm able to look at my monitor. So I'm still looking at you, but I can also see what people are writing, which is very cool. And then one of these are also programmed for different scenes. So you can have this do anything you want. And I've got 2 of them. So one of them I use for changing. I've got 2 cameras that I'm using. I've got one, which is kind of a top-down camera for doing magic, and the other one, which is a forward-facing camera. But in one of the scenes, I set it so that I've zoomed in a little bit. So this is the same camera, but I've just digitally zoomed in. So it's the same camera. I've only got 2 cameras. I'm going to see if there's any questions I need to answer. How did that come out of the flat briefcase? Well, of course, I can't reveal any secrets. Let's do another magic trick. I showed you something that I have on my table, and it's a little container of money. I've got some money in this, but I also have this. This is a magician's wallet. Oh, I am going to need someone to interact with me on this. John, if you want to pick someone who you think would be fun to have help out.
All right, if you want to help out, raise your hand. Oh my gosh. Okay. Kirsten Rourke is the first contestant. Thank you so much. Kirsten, how are you doing, Kirsten?
Good. Good. Hi.
Good. Where are you calling in from?
Central Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Wow. Nice. I'm going to change my view here so I can. Do you know what this is or used to be? It's a little contraption.
Oh, the top of a coin purse.
Yes, exactly. It's a magician's wallet, and I carry small things like coins, of course, and a few other items. This is a 50-cent piece. I also have a bunch of coins, miscellaneous American coins in this container. I'm going to switch to this top-down view. I think it'll be easier for you to see the coins. So I've got some quarters, I've got pennies, dimes, nickels, the 50-cent piece, and a bunch of other coins. What I would like you to do is take a wild guess how much you think all this money adds up to. I don't want you actually trying to count the money. Just use your intuition, take a wild guess. How much do you think the coins are? I'll give you a hint. It's less than $10.
$6.75.
Oh my God. Whoa. Did you say $6.75?
Yes.
That's crazy. Oh, wait. Well, it's correct. It's $6.75, except for one thing. I've been calling these coins, but these are not actually coins. They're it's just a picture of coins. They used to be real money until I took a picture and had them printed. But the weird thing is, on the back of the picture, I wrote how much the coins were actually worth, and they were worth exactly $6.75.
Bravo.
Thank you so much for helping out. So that's an example of how I'm using OBS in a lot of ways. I'm using multiple overhead. I'm using both of the cameras. I'm doing a little bit of something secret that works really well on video, but doesn't work as well in real life. And I'm able to do a small trick with coins for an infinite number of people thanks to the power of video. So that's an example of how virtual magic is really cool. Ooh, let's do another trick. All magicians do card tricks, and I would like to have 3 people helping. So if you'd like to help out, just kind of raise your hand and I'll let John pick some folks who would be good to help out.
Is Erin raising her hand or rubbing her eye? I can't tell. Okay, we're going to take Mary Ann Cunningham. We got Randy in the house. And our third person is Steph. Hey, Steph, how you doing? All right, we got a full house, Jeff.
All right, and if all 3 of you would go ahead and unmute your microphones, because I'm going to be asking you to make a decision here real soon, as soon as I shuffle these cards once. I have a pack of cards. I just shuffled them once, and these are regular cards. Sometimes later people wonder, well, are those marked cards? And I assure you, these cards are not marked at all. Okay, they are marked, but not in secret ways on the back. So just a regular pack of cards. I'm going to make a prediction for all 3 of you. But first, Mary, I would like you to think of a suit. So clubs, hearts, spades, or diamonds. Don't say it out yet. Just think of a suit, clubs, hearts, spades, or diamonds. And Steph, if you would think of a low value card. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. No, okay, we're going to have to, let me make a prediction real quick. Okay, what I did is I just reversed a card, and I'm going to leave these in my pocket, and I'll show you what card I flipped over in a second. We're going to do this one at a time. Mary, do you like red cards or black cards in a pack of cards?
Red.
Red cards. Okay, Steph, since we're using red cards, you get to choose hearts or diamonds. Which one would you like us to use?
Hearts.
Hearts. So it's going to be a red card and it's going to be a heart. And now the big decision comes to Randy. Hearts could be the ace of hearts, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, or King of Hearts. Your choice.
Jack of hearts.
No way. Okay, this is each one of you made a decision that has changed the outcome. We've ended up with a red card, a heart, a Jack of hearts. What I didn't tell you is that when I flipped a card over, the one card I happened to turn over is the Jack of hearts.
No way.
Wow.
Love it.
Thank you so much to all three of you. This was just like we rehearsed. Yes.
Thank you
Thanks,
for the Venmo
guys.
deposit. Yes. Thank you, John.
Thank you. It was fantastic.
Wow. Okay, I've got to take a quick look, see if there's any questions I need to answer here. Oh, and also instead of using the teleprompter setup, I've also seen people put their camera right in front of a big monitor. That works well. Or they sell special cameras that are really tiny that, again, they're kind of can be placed in the middle of your monitor. And that way you're able to maintain eye contact with your camera, but also see other things happening in the screen around you. I chose to go with kind of a simple setup in that I'm just using one big monitor, but it's so big that I can have multiple windows open on it. So my smaller teleprompter is what I'm looking at right now for the Zoom program. But then down on my other screen, I can see OBS, I can see my Stream Deck, I can have a web browser open, that sort of thing. Man, I'm surprised there have been no questions about any of the technology yet. So let's do one more magic trick. In fact, oh wait, it's time to play the Tic-Tac-Toe Championships. So I need to find someone who's really good at tic-tac-toe. So as long as you know how to, get 3 in a row, horizontally, vertically, diagonally, that's what I'm looking for. Someone who's good at tic-tac-toe.
I got Sunny, and by the way, Sandy Masters asked, what teleprompter do you use?
Oh, that's a good question. Man, let me look at it. It says Glide Gear on it. Glide Gear.
Got it. Thank you.
And
All
when
right.
when you get a teleprompter, you get it's basically kind of like a half mirrored glass setup, and then you have to buy the monitor that goes in it. So there's 2 parts to it, and you have to make sure that your video card has 2 outputs, because one will be going to the teleprompter and the other one will go to your monitor. So is it
Sunny.
Sunny?
That is correct.
And where do you live?
I live in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Whoa, cool. I'm kind of in the Seattle area, a little bit south of Seattle. So you know how to play tic-tac-toe, right?
Yes.
I've got a tic-tac-toe board. Let me grab it. And I also have a prediction. I'm going to put the prediction right by my pumpkin.
I can see it.
Just lean it up right there. So, of course, to win at tic-tac-toe, 3 ways, 3 in a row, horizontally or vertically or diagonally. I'm going to, I'll be the X's. I'll go in the middle. So you can go at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or H, your choice.
I want to do A.
You want to go right there in the corner?
Yes.
Oh, that tells me that you are good at tic-tac-toe, because that is the same technique that was used in the championships in 1979 in Switzerland. So this tells me a lot about you. Good tactics. So in order to counter that, I have to use the South African defense, which would be going right there. Okay, so
C.
wait, what'd you
Oh,
you
no,
already
no,
said-
no.
Well,
No,
hold
I
on.
want the one on
Let me
top.
relabel them. You could go at A,
Okay.
B, C. C would be good. D,
No, D.
not so good. D,
D.
not.
I
Really?
want D.
That's
And
unfortunate.
I was only 2 in 79. Thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, then I'm just a little bit older than you.
Right.
Okay, so now it does not look like I am in any imminent danger, so I'm gonna go Oh, now this is going to be sneaky because I'm not sure how close you're paying attention. So you could go at A or B or C.
I want D.
Oh man, that wasn't even an option. You're going to block me. Oh, so now it's only one more chance for me to win. Okay, so do you want to go at A or at B?
A.
What's it going to be?
A.
Okay. Okay, and then I'm gonna go there, and oh man, no one won. It was a tie game, Cats game. Oh, although I did say I made a prediction. Interestingly, the game that you and I just played, we just played OXO. My prediction was OXO, and then we played OXX, OXX, XOX. But we haven't just been playing tic-tac-toe. That would be too easy. We've also been putting a puzzle together because on the back of every one of these game pieces, there's part of a picture. Like that's part of a picture. That's part of a picture. That's part of a picture. But these pictures only make sense if, just like a puzzle, every piece goes in the right place, which means that you and I had to play the game that we just played exactly the way that we did. Hey, thank you so much for playing along, you guys. That is the end of the magic portion of the show. Thanks, you guys.
Let's give it up to Jeff Evans. Jeff, we got a couple minutes for a large group Q&A. So let's
Cool.
see. Anybody has any questions about how to do some of these things besides the secret to his magic trick, which he can't reveal?
Oh, the center cam. Thanks for putting that in the chat, Donna. That's the little camera that goes in the middle of your monitor. And I think that that would be a good investment. Probably better than the teleprompter setup. Honestly, it would be more simple.
It's about $100 or less, and the camera, you can actually put it lower thirds, and you put it one third down the screen, and it allows you to look directly at the person, especially if they're spotlighted, and again, you're looking straight at them, and so that's really where the camera was invented, basically in the last 2 years as a Kickstarter.
Cool.
Excellent. Kendall's looking forward to some overhead cam work, right? Having a table to your side or having some area of your desk where you can have the camera centered on. By the way, I have one too, although I use mine to share what I fill all my stuff with on here. So like these are things that are always available to me. This is what I decided to put on my desk all the time. So
yeah, I have different stuff on my desk. John, you don't have one of these sitting on your desk?
I have a Mad Hatter hat in the other room. We actually have a laundry hamper with 3 containers that has a variety of hats and other costumes for virtual.
That's awesome.
So Joe asked, will you guys share the list of cool stuff? Well, I can definitely give you my list of equipment. I'm not sure if Jeff has one too. And Yvonne Wood asked, what's the brand of the mini cam that goes on the monitor screen? Oh yeah, again, it's the center cam is its own brand. They came out as a Kickstarter. And again, Donna has the chat above if you want to re-chat. Marlene Walker, it was magical. How do you add type or text as you are talking?
Okay, so I actually pre-recorded a couple of those video segments. So when you saw me giving the tour of my studio, that was recorded earlier. So I was just looking at the chat box and typing replies.
Yeah, so that's another great way to do that is if you have an interactive part, while you play a video, you know that you can be interacting. But these are some of the ways that we can add text. Or like this, here, I put this picture here, I cut it out from my book, and I use it as my quote-unquote lower third, or basically a way to just my name tag. And yeah, again, you can see here, I can put it on virtually every screen. And so that's the power of using open broadcast software or other softwares like it. You know, you can also just make your virtual backgrounds in Zoom. That's what I did originally, is that if you know how to edit pictures or edit video, you can make your own and then you can actually use it to present.
I like adding graphics like this and then just reaching up and grabbing them.
Wow, that was impressive.
I just came up with that on the fly.
Good, Jeff.
Kristen asked, or someone asked about my overhead camera. So what I do is, again, I can't, because it's fixed, I can't show you what it is, but on the wall of my room, I attach some, it's kind of like pipes that come out and then they come over and I can mount anything to it. And it's really flexible because then to that pipe, I'm able to mount a camera to it and then I can adjust it. So this overhead camera, I can easily zoom in. It's my camcorder, but it has an HDMI output. So I'm able to, it gives me full control of the lighting and the focus. So it's perfect for me because when I'm doing magic, I need people to be able to see what the cards are and stuff.
What I love about what Jeff does too is he customizes magic shows, things like that. He can take any image, such as your company logo, and come back and represent it on that tic-tac-toe board. Oh yeah, they did want to know, how big is your room? I said my room now is 10 by 20, which is now allows me the green screen to walk backwards.
Yours is bigger. Yours is bigger than mine. Yeah, so I mean,
see, he can walk backwards.
Oh, I mean, it's plenty of room for what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, let's do this. As traditional with all this, we have about 45 minutes. For those who want to take a break, go ahead and take a break. Let's give one more round of applause for Jeff Evans.
See everyone. Thanks, John. This was awesome.
So again, if you want to hang out, Jeff, we can answer a few more Q&A. But again, it's break time. We're going to get set up for our next program. Coming up next, Powerful Connection is the beautiful king and spectacular queen with Anne Nguyen. You gotta see this. There is some really cool tech that is accessible to you. If you've ever wanted to do quote unquote speed dating on Zoom and figured out it was really hard, you're gonna see how easy it is. Hey Jeff, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, John. See you, everyone.
All right, let's head to gallery. Let's get some commentary. The mics are open. Anybody want to give some comments? Feel free to unmute. Raise your hand. Let me know what you thought about Jeff's program, if you have any questions for him. Renee says that was very cool.
That was excellent. I just love the additional planes and, really, again, it goes back to that engagement. And that was really a lot of fun. I unfortunately turned away to missed out on the moment of plucking your book out of the air, but I'm sure I can always ask or do a replay.
We're going to have to destroy the video of that because you'll figure it out. It was nothing fancy.
It looked fancy. That's all I can say.
That was fantastic. That was really, really good. I'm loving all of it. I'm loving the way the chat's being handled, the way John's doing stuff, the way you're doing stuff, what Joe was doing. It's all awesome.
Thank you so much. Let's see, Donna. Donna, I'm going to leave you to host the group a little while here and do some combo. I'll be right back.
Then I should probably come off mute. It's like April Cox, one of our good karaoke friends, is taking a lot of notes, and she also has a YouTube video channel and her bird Fox on that. Anybody else have comments for Jeff? Questions?
Hey, Jeff, I'll actually extend an invitation. There's several of us who are part of the virtual karaoke. And on those Saturday evenings, what we do is people take their turn and you can tell a story, you can sing a song. And if you're feeling like you want to try out some magic on us, I'm pretty confident that we would love to have you. So just so you know, there is, for anybody actually that is interested in there is, and I see in the chat, someone's asking how to join, and I'm sure that the wonderful and amazing Donna will put the link in there. We do have a Facebook page that's for that karaoke. It is free, and I know that you guys don't know me, but I believe that everybody deserves karaoke and should enjoy karaoke, and so that is just a great way. Even if you don't want to sing a song, you can come be an audience. You can absolutely participate in any way that you want.
Over 100 episodes. Shots all since March of 2020.
Ho, ho, ho.
Terry McLaughlin in the house. He was watching the live stream. I sent him a link.
I sure was. It's good to see you, John and Donna.
Good to see you too.
I
Terry-
bring a little magic too.
And your magic today is?
Oh, I just got booked for 3 more gigs. That I'll be at a daycare in Snoqualmie on the 10th of December, and then I'll be there for 2 sessions actually, and then I'm also in Bremerton, time to be determined, for a State Patrol family's Christmas party. And I'm also at a care home in the north end of Tacoma, just starting. You can get a hold of me anytime for any gig that you want. And John can give you all the information how to reach me too.
Well, Terry here, of course, was our Santa featured in Engaging Virtual Santa in 2020.
You know it.
And Terry is also famous because he was the Santa, again, with our good friend Dave Vaught, who was a cookie, who we reverse Zoom bomb, a Zoom bomber.
Oh, that was exciting.
We had, they tried to Zoom bomb us. We brought them in, removed their ability to unmute their mic, and Terry proceeded to tell them, dressed up as Santa, what a bad child he was. It was the moment of 2020 for sure.
Oh, you know it. That was fun.
I would pay you to do that for school systems.
Oh.
We're higher. And we're that good. Yes, Kristen, we have also blasted Zoom bombers with Teletubbies. And I'm trying to... Oh, Baby Shark, for sure. Baby Shark.
Oh,
my. But have you done the hamster?
No.
Dancing hamster.
What's the hamster?
Dancing hamster. Look it up on YouTube. Well, have someone else look it up on YouTube. It'll be stuck in your head forever.
It's an earworm, people.
It is.
Thank you so much. All right, we're about 7 minutes away from our next guest. Any other comments about this morning so far? Again, I know some of those, OBS is a very technical thing. I understand it's not for everybody, but I did want, to show Jeff does magic, and part of what you want to do on virtual is like figure out what magic you want to do. I picked up OBS myself over the past 2 years, and actually we think we have one of our guests here. Let's see, Daida, are you here?
I'm here. Hi everyone.
Daida actually is nominated for one of the Engaging Virtual Meeting Awards because her and her coworker Crystal mastered OBS and ran their own award show virtually.
Well, yes, with a ton of support from John, but we did it last year. I actually have a recording, so I could share that. It was awesome, and I hope we're gonna do that again this year.
It just shows that it is learnable, just like everything here. You just decide what level you want to be at. Lots of our program in these first 2 days too is really centered on how can you make your virtual meetings better with no additional tech. We are going to show a tech thing on the next piece, but there are many sessions again today and tomorrow. Today's really focused on is trying to get everyone connected together. So again, good to see Kimberly here from the Silicon Valley, who I actually had dinner at her real house. Kimberly's somebody you want to watch. She's going to be a speaker, I believe, in 2023. 2023. Hi, Kimberly. She's got the woohoo. She's doing some amazing programs there for sure. Kimberly is master of emojis too. I saw Miriam in here earlier too. Like, there are some people here who use of emojis blows me away. Like, I really need to up my game. Kendall Cox, this is Harry Styles, and the song is As It Was. So there's a link to the award ceremony. And again, Daita and her coworker Crystal discovered all sorts of things like, data speed connections, computing power. These are all things that come into play once you start heading into intermediate and advanced territory, that's for sure. Yeah, Debbie. Hey, Debbie. So this is a great question. I do have an ASCAP license. It does mean though that it doesn't mean like my live streams will most likely get muted during these sections, but I know that. But I do pay for an ASCAP, ASCAP. There are multiple other types of licenses for that, and it does give me the right to play any song in their library in a virtual meeting. And happy to pay it because a good portion, apparently 50 to 80% of the money does go back to the artists. And I think it should. So, yeah, thanks, Debbie. Yeah, I really looked at it after the first year. And of course, by being parts of the meeting industry, I want to do it the right way. So yeah, back to my setup if you are interested in how I'm doing this. My personal setup is I have a mixing board. So this is an iPad. And the iPad, the output is stuck into my mixing board. So that should be this. Here's my mixing board. And the real reason for this too is because I want a lot more control over the audio. So you can do this, and we'll show you how. It's share screen advanced computer audio. But if you don't do it this way, a lot of times the audio control in the app is like either all the way on or all the way off. But here, so I believe now I put it low enough, like you can give me a thumbs up if you can hear my voice and still know what song this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, see, we did it right. So I spend, like, when I'm producing, I spend like half of my time is my left hand is over here on this mixing board trying to decide what to do with it, right? And so, like, you know, for big hits too, like we can say, oh my gosh, Jeff Evans, when he was upside down, he was levitating. You know, the power of music to me is one of the most powerful things, which is that Terry knows this too. He's actually a barbershop singer. And
That's right.
The power of music is like I can play 3 or 4 notes of a popular song, and it can very easily change your state, right? And so that's why I really look forward to that. By the way, we have a playlist too for today's program. The whole conference, every year, one of the features that I'd have is that I develop a playlist. And then I give it back to you. And again, the research says that if I do this, we can discover, you'll remember more. You'll associate certain songs. Like now you should associate the song Magic by B.O.B. to Jeff Evans. And so forth and so on. Yeah, so for me, Jeff asked me a great question too. The mic I'm using now is a wireless mic so I can walk around. And so the second part is that it's a Countryman. So it's a Sennheiser body pack. So it is wireless so I can move around. Then this is a Countryman. And the Countryman, again, I was an audio engineer prior to this as a kind of a side hobby. My dad owns a recording studio, even though he's a doctor. So I grew up around mics and stuff. The Countryman is one of the top wireless mics. And here's the other key reason. It's this far from me all the time. And so no matter if I turn my head left or right, it sounds exactly the same. And so that's why I prefer this mic over all the other ones. Now, I do have one other mic. Let's see if I can bring it down. Now, again, it's wired, but it gets in the way. But I can do things like... This is John Chen here at KEVM, playing all the hits in the pandemic. And now, let's listen to Cold Heart by Elton John, who just played in Seattle, Washington. There you go. So there's an example of a second mic.
And you've also got the video for Santa arriving too, if you know where to find that one. And he's singing Santa Claus is coming to town, and then this special mic click, speaking of that, actually it's the click of the locking the sleigh. That was one of Santa's favorites.
These days my waves get lost in the ocean. 7 billion swimmers, man, I'm going through the motions. Set up a flare, I need love and devotion. Trade it for some faces that I'll never know. Notion.
And we don't have your audio.
You switched to the other mic.
Yeah.
Dude, hey, look, I told you, 35 years can still get caught on mute. Just to show you that even after 35 years, it's like, I love to tell people, it's not your fault. right? It's not your fault. This technology is still in such a way I don't get all the cues for it. So look, you can do this thing too. Kathleen, is this thing on? All right, this section is called The Powerful Connection is the Spectacular King and the Beautiful Queen. I can't wait to introduce this next person. She's the head of customer success at Twine. Prior to joining Twine, she founded Spark Event Management, an award-winning full-service event management firm. She's a seasoned business event professional with over 15 years of event design, and really cool. Over the COVID-19 pandemic, she led 50 leading event professionals to coordinate the Global Meetings Industry Days goes virtual, and they broke a lot of records. She was also named a Meetings Today 2020 trendsetter. Please put your hands together for the one and only Ann Wim. This song is called Connection by One Republic. I didn't even know One Republic did a song called One Connection. Hey, Ann, how you doing?
Good. How are you? How are you? It's live. It's lively in here.
We're trying to rock it out here for sure. Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about yourself, Ann, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I feel totally technically inept to be here. I've been here for about half an hour just listening, and I don't have any tech advice in terms of equipment and gear, but we're going to shift a little bit and talk maybe about the human side of connecting and how we do this online. I, as John said, work at a company called Twine. You're going to get to see Twine live in action, but we're all about creating online connection that's meant to recreate the serendipity of running into someone at, like the hotel lobby bar or in the elevator, at a coffee break, all the places where you likely, if you think back, have had some awesome conversations with people that you weren't planning to meet. So we've been really hyper-focused on solving that problem over the past 2 years. It's not an easy one, and we'll get into some of the reasons as to why connecting online can be so difficult. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. It layers on top of, as John mentioned, a career in event planning and design. So similar to probably lots of folks here, where pre-pandemic I was trucking along in my event planning business up here in Canada, and have had an interesting 2 years as we sort of recalibrate and figure out where this industry is gonna land. So I'm excited to be here. John's always got great music. I just found out about a karaoke group. We might just do that instead instead of this next session. I love karaoke. So whoever said it was I believe that everyone deserves karaoke is my new mantra. So
You know what my saying though is then though, Ann?
What is it?
My karaoke saying is I replace talent with theatrics.
Yeah, we call it passion. I think it's passion. That's all you need at karaoke. You don't need talent.
So we have a question here. So why don't you describe the experience? I'm going to put up the question that everyone's going to have. Why don't you just go through the experience before we launch it? Sound good, Ann?
Yeah, this sounds great. So in a session where we're going to talk about connecting, I'm going to do very little talking off the get-go. And John is going to fire up our app. And the first iteration of this is we don't need you to do anything. You're about to see our app automatically move people through rounds of speed networking. And what I want you to talk about when you're in your breakout room is, what is the best virtual networking event you've been to, likely in the last 2 years? Why? And what's the worst virtual networking event you've been to, and why? And so John's going to launch us all into 3 rounds of 3-minute sort of speed dating, speed friending, I call it. That's a little bit more PC maybe. And just chat with your partner about this. When we come back to the main room, we're going to have a couple folks volunteer to report out, and we're going to try to see if we can pull out some trends of what makes virtual event networking work and what doesn't. So when John's ready, he's going to hit go, and you don't have to do anything. You should just get moved into rounds of speed networking. We're going to do 3 rounds.
3 rounds. Again, when you get into there, spend about 1.5 minutes introducing yourself, answering this question, and make sure the other person has time to talk, and make sure that is done before the end of your 3 minutes. All right, cross your fingers. Here we go.
I can't
Let's continue with connection. They are starting. Everybody is moving. Matchmaking is moving. Twine is assigning. Almost done moving.
A lot of people to move, John.
Pretty good number here.
Yeah. Are we even, or is someone gonna get left with you?
Here we go. I believe 2.5 minutes. Now people are starting to disappear. I love it's like Star Trek, right? Oh my gosh, there goes everybody. Now they only have 2 minutes left on the timer, Ann. But will it go faster then after it initially sets? Oh, and of course, Ann will actually have to come back herself. All right, so what's happening here? Oh, and here we're going to put the question here for everybody. There we go. Question is now in every breakout room. Hi, Miriam. Welcome back. You can come hang out with me for a minute.
Yes, I guess my partner just left me.
That's okay. I know we have a lot of people here and a lot of different sets, so we're going to figure out who's there. In 80 seconds, you'll get rematched.
Yay! Second
My
time.
person was not responding. So.
What I started doing is I always create more breakout rooms than necessary, and then I can move people around. And for those who join late.
So what you want to see is this here too. Let me just give you a little insiders here. This is what the Twine control panel looks like. So you can actually see all these other people are set up in one-on-one tables right now. And again,
that's why it took so long.
Yeah, the initial setup with this many is a little big. So I do believe the next one should go a little faster here, and it should rematch you in about 30 seconds. So if you say yes, I think there might be a prompt for you. Then you will come into another group. But of course, we have other people here.
Hey, Kimberly.
Hi, Miriam. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I always follow what you're doing. You've sent out so many great emails.
I hope you join us on Wednesday to fall in love.
Oh, really?
I've seen this session. Kimberly, I think you're going to love it. I can't wait to see the results from it. Okay, let's see. 3, 2, 1. Let's see if some new matching starts. Second round.
Yeah, again, my person didn't show up.
They're all reshuffling now. And here I'll do a broadcast, right? Hi, Miss Roberta. Oh, wait, your mic is out. Where's your mic?
Oh,
there you go.
I hear me. Yep.
Here, let me clear all the spotlights and get people who are here. There we go. Okay, what's the best or worst virtual event? Let's go to Tess. Hey, Tess, how you doing?
Hey, John, doing well. How about you?
Good. Best
yeah, I was reflecting on my best virtual networking event was part of like a group that I'm a part of that's all about racial equity. And they're just some of the most amazing women I've like ever met in my entire life. And so I was just realizing like there's that piece around having something in common and like a very intentionally kind of curated group of people that is really rad. And I think worst in general, I mean, I do a lot of my consulting companies called transformative gatherings. So I feel like I have very high expectations for gatherings, both virtual and in person. And I think when there's not a lot of instruction around what's going on, it's just like, go into this thing and do a thing. And it's like, what, who, where, what are we doing? That is some of the worst. And so, yeah, that's what comes to mind.
Thank you, Tess. Welcome, Tyler. Tyler Paris is in the house. How about you, Kirsten? Kirsten, do you have a best or worst meeting?
So I actually was saying in the other group that best so far is definitely this one. Because as you know, my thing is creating engagement online. That's my job. Mm-hmm. So usually I'm the person going in going, oh God, no, don't do that. But I have a Friday morning Innovation Women group and they're really good. it's pretty mellow, but they're great. But most virtual presentations, I'm kind of going most of the time. So
yeah, we'd hope to rectify that. Hopefully that you would be excited for your next virtual presenters as they come up if they learn some of these key important things. Kimberly, do you want to chime in? We've got 15 seconds for the next match. So again, if you don't get matched up with somebody, just come back here to the main room, come hang out with me. But we are going to match back up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So yeah, Tyler said first EVM was his fave. Okay, you may get reassigned. Third round coming up, and then I will stop after third round. We'll come back here. She has some other cool things to show you. It's so crazy to watch these breakout rooms, right? These breakout rooms are like all gravitating to all different places. Kristen's still with me. Oh, hi, Pam.
For me. No, this is awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Pam, hey.
I need a buddy. I need a buddy.
Well, I'll be your buddy. I'll be your pal. Pam, where are you calling in from?
Chicago suburb.
Chicago. All right.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great, was it a drone video or a city video that somebody did in Chicago?
Oh, of Wrigley Field.
The Wrigley Field video is whack because they have a drone that flies through the entire thing. Okay, best or worst virtual networking event?
Best one I've ever attended. Recently, my organization launched some room thing where you moved your mouse around and like you could go sit at a table. Like, and I had never actually. What's a room thing? I know. I got to look up what the software is.
So like a VR 360 kind of?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So yeah. And I was like, I would go in and I would like slam into people and it was just really fun. And like, it was just because you could just go face them. And I had never actually experienced it. And like, if I would turn, it would start to fade. It was amazing. So you could just pop in and out. It really imitated a live. It was so cool. And even though it wasn't structured, I was just able to bounce around and there were tables that had topics, specific things, but
feels like Remo.
What's that? Sorry.
It sounds like Remo if it has tables. The platform.
I'm going to look this up because I really need to. It's so fantastic. Have Remo, you said?
Yeah, REMO is one of the table-based ones. But that's the one thing to really look for in the next year. People are going to continue to try and figure out how to solve the networking problem. And the challenge is sometimes they're not as good as, the one thing that Zoom has really done over the last 2 years, and I can compare to a lot of platforms, it consistently keeps the audio and video going.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it degrades well. So even if you have low bandwidth. And so, this is why I like Twine for Zoom personally. I've been watching Twine and its interpretation. And when they finally got a platform on Zoom, it means that you can stay in the platform, and then still do stuff like this. We're about 15 seconds to go.
It was called Showboat.
Oh, Showboat.
Showboat. Showboat.live.
Okay.
I got to go look this up.
Here comes the group is going to come back in 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
For hours last night and we made it nowhere.
Can you name this song?
Stars in your eyes when we're halfway there. I'm not fazed by all the lights and flashy cameras. Cause with my arms around you, there's no need to care.
Oh, I got to see if all the rooms are going to close. Oh, did it start another round? Oh, yikes. No, I have no timer. Let's bring Ann back. Oh, there we go. Now everyone's on the... All right. Let's see. Oh, there she is. Hey, Ann. Welcome back. Let's we'll get your mic on. Oop, one more time.
Do we have everyone back?
We got everybody back.
Not lost in the ether. Yeah, 3 minutes does go by quick, doesn't it? So a couple of things I'll speak to on that experience you just had. So we're going to try something shortly where we're going to try to get everyone into the Zoom app that John is using. what we just did there was our shuffle speed networking. So you don't have to download anything. You don't have to be in the app, but what you don't get is all the context. So I got a lot of comments in my rooms about it's really jarring at the end of 3 minutes to just get pulled and not know what's happening. But we're going to talk a little bit about that. John's going to show a couple of other modes, but I want to do a little bit of reporting out. I had some really great conversations with people and some common themes, but let's, John, however you've been doing, like volunteers to report back on the best virtual networking event you've been to and why, and the worst virtual networking event you've been to and why, or something you heard in one of your conversations too.
Perfect. If you want to share, please raise your physical hand or your virtual hand. Let's go. I got Kristen. Kristen's with us. Hi, Kristen Rauch. Go ahead.
Hi. So the worst one is I do Zoom producing for some companies, and there is a trainer who is a lovely human being, but he gets angry when people don't respond to him and don't respond in the chat, and he doesn't realize the degree to which he gets pissy. So he's actually going, any questions? No. You know it's going to be a long day if you don't talk to me. And I'm kind of in the back going, so that would be the worst.
And that's such a good example. One of the things, we talk about is when we try to replicate in-person dynamics online, sometimes they don't translate, right? So that type of comment in a room could be perceived as like dry, sarcastic humor, or it's sort of blunt, but in person, there's like a buffer. And sometimes when we try to take things that happen in person and totally recreate them online, they fall really flat. So I think that's a really good example of being cognizant that we're in a different environment when we're connecting with people virtually. We don't have the benefit of the smile and the eye contact and that kind of stuff that can make comments like that a little bit less jarring. So that's a great example. What about someone who has like a best experience?
Best networking. Oh, right next to there, we got all the Ks. We got the other Kristen and Kirsten.
Hi. So recently I joined this group of women. It's called Women Rocking Business, and all of their events are so engaging. I think one of the good things is that I thought was cool is they have the co-hosts. So they were able to kind of keep things rolling. They also ask a lot to participate in the chat. Drop this in the chat. They talk to you, and you're able to feel like you're actually right there. So yeah, Women Rocking Business, it was great.
Nice. Anyone else have a good or bad?
We got Joe Welch. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I talked to Joe.
Hey there. Yeah, so one of my favorites is a group called Twisted Networking. Javanya Allen out of Rhode Island. She's an introvert. And so she not only wrote the book on being an introvert and navigating through this field, but also created Twisted Networking, which is virtual, and it's very structured and concise, and you really walk out of there with something. I wanted to add to the ones that don't work is for me, when they're unstructured, when the people who you're in rooms with take all the air out of the room, and then all of a sudden you're sent back and you feel like you haven't talked to anybody. And I will do a plug for captions. Because as you guys already saw, I partner with a huge deaf community, and I feel like it's a big oversight when we don't think about how to get that in place, just so that not just deaf folks, hard of hearing, elderly, but also those second language users and people who are at work who might not be able to listen at volume. That's just another little tidbit to throw into the mix.
Yeah, Joe had a really good point in our conversation. I loved how she said it. Online networking makes sure that the entry is fair. So if you think about in-person networking, where you walk into a room and there's already like different types of hierarchies that have happened, whether I've been there before, if I'm on the board, if I know people, virtual network kind of takes that away. So that's I really like that insight from her, was that the entry is fair when we're talking about virtual networking, and we can use that as designers to our advantage. That's awesome. Okay, so we're going to get into some discussions, John and I here. So we have some questions that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to try to get some technology working to prove some of these points. So John, do you want to hop to the next section?
Yes, and then let me do the invite, right, to everybody?
we can try that right now. We have a couple questions we can talk through, and then yeah, we can definitely try the app invite.
Okay, sending an invite to everybody.
Yeah, so what you should be seeing is a prompt for to open Twine for Zoom, and just see if you can do it. It's not a big deal if you can't. John and I are going to go through some questions, and then we'll try to use the app to curate some of these conversations.
Here we go. And now we got your questions up, Ann.
No, not yet. Our questions.
Oh, our questions. That's right. Sorry, we have three other questions. That's right.
Okay. Rehearsing on the fly here.
Let's see. Oh, okay, great. 3 questions, of course. So, Ann, what are the biggest mistakes planners, since you've been a planner here in the community, what are the biggest mistakes planners make when they're designing for connection online? There's so many to make.
Yeah, and if you have insights, feel free to put up your hand and contribute to this. But I'll start with a few. It's great that I haven't heard a lot of this here, but oftentimes what planners that come to us or that we've worked with do is they really focus on the technology. They've gone and Googled and searched engagement and networking online, and they find us through our SEO, and they want to jump right into what our tech does. And I always recommend to them that the technology is really secondhand to first focusing on the design of your event. Why do you want attendees to connect? And what do you want them to talk about when they do connect? And then there's a whole slew of technology out there that can support it. And you can design something as simple as, using the breakout rooms in Zoom, all the way to really advanced technology that can do AI matching and all of that stuff. But really don't fixate so much on the technology before you know why you want people to connect, what you want them to talk about. The other thing that I've already mentioned is they try to recreate in-person experiences online. So we're used to going into a ballroom and it just being a free-for-all, right? And humans are so conditioned to be kind of comfortable in that situation. It still can be uncomfortable, but who's ever attended these virtual networking hours that popped up early in the pandemic, where it was just 50 people sitting in a Zoom with your drink and we take turns talking about your favorite type of car? And it's so painful. There's no connection happening there. And we're just trying to recreate the idea of sort of floating around a room, which is really hard to do virtually, right? So I think the idea of designing something completely unique to being online has to be front of mind when you do that. And then there's so many ways to leverage technology once you have all those design pieces in place to make things less awkward. So we really believe in structure, which we've heard. So giving people something to talk about when they're in a room with a stranger, a virtual room, and fixing the time. So knowing that I'm only going to be in this room for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it might be, because online networking can be awkward. And I think if we all just acknowledge that fact and design around it versus trying to avoid it, then we can put structures and guardrails in place to make it less so, right? We can guide the conversation. We can curate specific groups where they have reason to be in a room talking together, which we're going to try in a bit. But those are some of the things I see off the top of my head. John, I don't know. I'm sure you see all sorts of things in terms of what mistakes people make when they try to do online networking and why it has such a bad rap.
The key here is, to me, there's a lot of it in the group too. Facilitators, right? Facilitators, the base of the word is to make easier. And sometimes I think what people do, it's kind of like the example we're saying of the other person who gets a little, angry if people don't talk. If you don't start curating the connections somehow, then you can destroy all your psychological safety and people don't want to say anything. And it's not really networking. If one person's just up there talking and they're like, ask a question, what's your favorite car? Oh, nobody answered. All right, I'm going to move on to the next question. They miss that opportunity. The inverse of that has actually been our happy hours. So in our happy hours, we have no agenda. We actually have no structure, right? We have no agenda. We never live stream, almost never record. And through facilitation, what we've been able to do was get the highest level of psychological safety because people felt safe sharing. Remember back in March of 2020 when everything was happening all at once? People were willing to talk about it, right, in this group. And in fact, the group actually demanded I run it twice a week because they said they couldn't wait to dump all this stuff that was happening this week about getting hired, fired, or getting exposed or something else like that. So anyways, those are the things that I think about. I'm really excited too because I got to meet one of my idols, she's the creator of a group called Daybreaker. And I read her book called Belong about community building. What's the role of connection as you see it as it relates to community building?
Yeah, I think that's a really good segue based on what you talked about, right? Like what we're seeing a lot of is the idea of smaller, really micro niche communities where people feel like they belong and they feel safe. And what a great way to create that now that we're not limited by physical and geographic limitations, right? So the group that you just talked about, the reason that you can get to a point where you don't need structure and you don't need a ton of design and people can just come and talk is because you created a very safe space for a small group of people. And the more targeted and the more specific you can be about what your community does and who it serves, I think the better off you are than some of the things that you're seeing now where we've seen the massive platforms and the massive brands try to build quote unquote community around their brands. And really what it is just like a giant database of people that have used their platform to attend an event. That's not really a community, right? Like a community is where you go and you want to help the people that are part of it and you want to seek help from them and you feel safe asking for that. And what we're seeing is more and more smaller niche communities form around a very specific vision or a specific mandate that people can either buy into or they don't. And you get to a point where if you don't sort of align with this, then that's okay. It's just not the community for you. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing technology being used to pull those communities together globally now. We're also seeing this inside of companies, right? So if you work on internal events or sort of work with HR teams, one of the groups we're seeing a lot of rising out of are like employee resource groups. So Latinos at eBay or LGBTQ at Amazon, and they're forming these social communities inside of organizations because now we're not bound by having to be in the same room. So a lot of folks are using our technology to develop those very kind of saturated, intense communities that are really moving a lot of initiatives forward, more than you would think small groups like that can. But when everyone's so fully bought into what the community is about, I think that's important. And that's really in line with the example that you just gave of the group that you created during the pandemic. And the last thing I'll say is they leverage technology to be able to vet and identify if the folks should be in the room, right? And we're going to try to do that with some of our matchmaking technology later. But those are the things I'm kind of seeing on the tech side of how virtual connecting has enabled building of communities that you could only do with the people that lived near you pre-pandemic, right? So I think that's exciting to think about the communities you can be part of, that you don't have to live anywhere near these people.
We have Amsterdam, the Netherlands, Germany in the house today. That's not easy, right? And so Miss Roberta asked the easy question. Does Twine work with Microsoft Teams? I believe the answer is no. Is that right?
It's never no, John. It's never no.
Not yet. I'm sorry. It's not yet, right?
Yeah, no, it doesn't integrate into Teams the same way it does integrate into Zoom. It's on the roadmap for sure. We have lots of clients at Microsoft that use Twine, our web product.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, our current what we're seeing now doesn't work in Teams the same way, but yeah. Good question.
So again, what you meant by that, you can run this in a browser and not use any platform, and then it'll run anywhere that you have a browser. The last one here is, what trends do you see happening in building connections online? We're going to be looking at the future later on in this program, but I'd love to see your view since you specialize in making connections.
Yeah, and I'm excited to tune in as you talk about the future. There's lots of things hitting the event planning world that and one of the questions is what are these are fads and what are these are going to stay, right? So we're seeing a lot of the things that you're all seeing in terms of discussion about the metaverse and gamification and how crypto is going to play into ownership of events and all of that kind of stuff. I'm actually not seeing a ton of people engage in traditional event networking. So when we host a conference for a client that's a 3-day event and we build out a networking session online, whether it's hybrid or virtual, the adoption is actually really low there. I think people, and that probably has a lot to do with how the rest of the event is designed, but where we're really seeing engagement is, like we said, in this community world where they're finding times pre-event, post-event to connect with people that they've met there, or within companies. So one of the trends we're watching really closely, and I think all event planners should be watching closely, is the remote work, right? Like how work from home, work from anywhere, as the population becomes more distributed, online connection is going to be critical to keeping these organizations running. So I pulled a stat of like 58% of Americans can do part of their job from home, and 87% of Americans would do their job from home if they were able to, right? So when you start to think about how we're changing the way we live and the way we work,
Yeah.
online connection is going to be really important part of that. And I think that it's not going to replace in person, but I think it's going to augment. Yes, communities of practice is a perfect phrase for this. Like, it's really going to augment how we keep these, whether you call it a community, your network, your association, your company, whatever, it's basically you're building online communities. How we keep those connected between our ability to meet in person is going to be really important, especially as humans, we're changing the way we work, right? So that's the trend we're watching really closely. I'm super excited to hear about some of the other things that are hitting the world of event planning, but that's kind of the big one that I think about a lot, of how technology can help change the way we connect with our peers at work.
Speaking of which, let's connect some people, right?
Yes. Okay. Now we're going to try this. So we're going to try to invite you all to the app, and John's done that. And you may or may not be able to get into this app depending on your Zoom settings and your permissions, but he is going to launch a map. So if you're able to open the prompt he just sent, yeah, there's no try, only do. That's right. One of the tricks is if you're logged into Zoom and it seems to be disabled, you can log out, but if you can't get into it, we'll move you manually into the breakout tables. So John's going to launch, if you can open the app, you're going to see it sort of pop up to your right-hand side, and you can pop the screen out so that you can see more of it. He's going to launch our what we call visual breakouts. So this is meant to kind of try to recreate table topics. So when he launches it, we're going to have you talk about 3 different pillars, because I think that online connection comes down to 3 things. There's design of the experience, the trends that we're always working with when we're talking about technology, and community best practices. So you pick a table that you want to talk to or a topic you want to talk about, and jump into that table when John launches this.
Okay, here we go. You'll have about 10 minutes in this room. I'll send you updates by broadcast.
And feel free to move between the rooms too.
Just to try out the tool. Okay, let's see. We're going to share to the breakout rooms now.
By popping into a room, clicking the join button, I see people starting to move. And if you can't move with the app, you can also move yourself traditionally through the Zoom breakout room,
which is on the bottom toolbar, the 4 squares. Hit breakout rooms and join one of the rooms. All right, we've got 6 or 7 people who have moved.
I'm going to move. Bye.
If you want to help too, or you want me to move you, you can always chat me and just tell me which room you want to move to.
I think I'm confused. No, not that I think I'm confused. I know I'm confused. I see 2 things happening, or I heard the word breakout room. And so I'm looking at Twitch. Am I able to just pick a seat there, or am I going into a breakout room in Zoom? Or are those the same thing?
In Twine for Zoom, you can see a table and click join, and you'll move. And if that doesn't work, you can fall back onto Zoom's breakout rooms. And there are 6 rooms: Design 1, Design 2, Community 1, 2, Trends 1, 2, and you could just join one of those. Somebody join Kristen in Trends 2. She's all by herself.
John, I can't join him.
Say, Delisa, just tell me which room you want to go to.
Well, I don't know. I'm so confused. Just put me somewhere, I guess. I see table and little circles and move right or left, but it doesn't do anything.
Did you click the blue join button underneath one of them?
Yes. Yes. Oh, no, there's not a join underneath.
Oh, there should be a join under there. Delisa, let me move you, though. I'm going to move you to Trends 2, okay?
I also don't have a join button. I see the map. I can move left and right, but I don't have a join.
Interesting. All right. Tell me which room you want to go to.
I'll go to Trends. Thank you.
Trends 1 on the way. Veronica or Mirjam, need help? I'm here for you. Veronica, feel free to unmute if you need help.
Mute. Try to do what? Go to a room?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to just give me a room name and I'll move you there.
Okay.
Design, community, or trends?
Give me design.
Design. Here you go. Thank you, Amy, for your note. You can feel free to talk to me here if you'd like. Okay, let's see. Who else is left here in my room? Oh, welcome, Ella. And hello, Yvonne. So good to see you here. Ella, let me know if you want to do any AV tests while we're here. I can also put you in a breakout room later. It won't be until after this session because we're using all the rooms. So again, what other people are seeing here, just so that those are the questions. This is what I just wanted to show for the group. This is what I'm seeing on my side. These are the tables. And now you can see different people. So you have a much different representation than Zoom's usual breakout rooms. And this is more where you might get to that table reference where you feel like you want to sit down here at the table. We can actually control the table sizes and the times, other things like that here. These are the 3 questions that they are considering. What is one new design idea you have seen at a virtual networking event? Design. One of the things that we really do is, again, I think one of the design ideas was to have no agenda. But again, I also think that turning off live streaming and recording, which again, we're doing for this conference, allows people to feel more safe. There's times when recording might be useful, but there's also times when it's not, and people feel more likely to share inside of that in the networking piece. Trends. What technology trends do you see sticking and which are fads? Well, obviously, I think virtual meetings in general is a trend that I still see sticking. I still think that I'll be curious to see where hybrid goes, because hybrid is the next step. I know a lot of people are talking about it. It might be so difficult that it might be a fad. It might die. Not sure around that. April, you want to chat with me? I'm mastering a few questions. Outside of virtual events, how can technology help communities connect? Outside of virtual events? I mean, there's the discussion boards and all the other ways that we connect. So Slack and some of these other things are important. I find that things like Facebook Messenger really are important too, where I can initiate a call. I think those things are also important. Let's see, we're going to give a timer mark here for our group. So we're about 3 minutes to go. Outside of virtual events, how can technology help communities connect? Outside of virtual events. Yeah, it's all the different other touches. That's what I've seen. I've actually made a lot of friends that are virtual, some who I've never met in person, and it's the time. I think it's the time that's really the key. Hey, Kellen, welcome back. How you doing?
Just right. I had myself muted so I wouldn't be making extraneous noise. I'm fine. I was in a breakout room for a bit.
Yeah, you always come to the main room muted, just so you know. So just you'll have to remind yourself, even if you weren't muted, when you come back to the main room, I'll have it set so you'll come back muted. Kellen, what do you think? Which room were you in? Design Trends or Community?
I was in Design 1.
Yeah.
And there was I learned a couple of interesting things, the name of another platform and some gamification effort that's going on in one instructional design gal whose company, or she works for a company that teaches different topics, and they're working on some instructional design stuff. So I thought it was interesting. What I heard, the trend between all of them was the engagement piece. And that to me is the biggest, and the safety. So the lady that was speaking ahead of time talked about safety, people feeling okay and safe, and then engagement, something to do besides sit there and listen.
Yeah, it's amazing that we learn so much about each other by doing something. So I think that's really important. We've got about 90 seconds left. And the drastic results woman is here, Tony Harris Taylor. What's up, Tony? How you doing?
I am excellent. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here. All right. Did you check out these tables? Which room were you in? Or did you just arrive?
I just arrived.
We're
in breakout rooms.
Yeah, we're discussing 3 questions. Design trends or community, right? Do you have an answer for any one of these questions? Like design, you do a lot of networking events, speaking of which, right? I'd love to hear what's new, one idea that you see working around virtual networking.
Well, the idea I teach, which is don't leave the call without appointments. Being very specific of inviting people to get on your calendar in private chat. Hey, I heard your introduction. I'd love to get to know you more. Here's my link. Schedule an appointment. And I leave every virtual call. Don't be surprised if y'all get that link, by the way. I leave every virtual call with appointments, not no saving the chat you ain't gonna do nothing with. So
what's your name? You have a name for it, Tony. What is it? Show up? What is it?
Show up, be up, follow up to blow up.
Thank you so much. All right, Amy, I'm going to bring everybody back. Here we go.
Oh, I think I need lipstick for this crew.
Amy, any comments as we come back?
Oh, I was just going to add, you mentioned, the technology and some of that. The problem that we have is I do training is making sure that people can get to these new technologies, if it's a platform or like Twine, to help support that virtual piece. That's where we see a lot of challenges.
Yeah. No, we agree, Amy. And again, every time you have a new technology too, if you have a certain number of cases where it doesn't work, then you have to deal with it and have a fallback for it. What is nice that, again, you do have the breakout rooms here in Zoom so that you do have a fallback way to move if you know how to do that. And do we have, welcome back.
We interrupted someone in a really interesting thought, but that's okay. That happens. It happens in real life. It's like John interrupting us in real life. What else is new?
That's right. You gotta try and get their attention back from all the table talk. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. That's the equivalent. You don't have to worry about someone having to walk around with like a cowbell online, right? They can just push and pull people back. Okay, so with the last few minutes that I have, I want to just touch on one point of, we've talked a little bit about how online connection is different than in person. We've talked about some of the ways you can design things and mistakes. And then I want to talk a little bit about some of the advantages of technology. So how many times have you gone to a networking event or a cocktail reception, and you have a couple of specific people you want to meet, and unless you were super proactive about reaching out to them beforehand and getting the list and setting up a time with them, it's sort of a crapshoot of whether or not you're going to connect with them. So one of the things that I love the most about technology and connecting online is how intentional you can be. So all of the data that we have at our fingertips of what people want to talk about, who they want to talk to, what conversations would make for the most enriching experience for them. We're going to try that right now. So using the app, John is going to launch a mode that requires a little bit of input from the user. So we're hoping that we pick something where the split's relatively even, but he's going to use what we call A/B matching. So it's like smart breakout rooms in Zoom. So if you have the app open, and John, you may want to just re-invite everyone again in case they've been pushed out of it.
Okay. Re-inviting, and now can I hit launch?
Yeah, so when John hits launch, you're going to be asked to self-identify as either a first timer to this event or an alumni. So we're hoping that the split is pretty even, or he might have just launched us into speed networking.
Oh, I thought I had it right there. Wait, do I got to come back?
Yeah, close it. He might have just used his old template of moving everyone to the.
I had AB. Oh, here's AB would actually switch spots because I was okay. Sorry. Okay, I'm launching AB now.
Okay, so he's gonna launch AB. There you go.
There we go. That's correct.
If you have the app open, you should be able to see, identify as I'm a first timer or I'm an alumni. And once you've selected, hit ready to match. And we totally get not everyone might be in it. The system will still put you.
Uh-oh. Oh, I'm still, Ed, I'm still closing rooms from the other one. Okay. Well, good. Welcome here. I do believe we got a bunch of people matched, and I think we're trying to figure out if we got them matched 1-to-1 or they came back from the last piece. All right. Hi, Tiger. How you doing? Oh, let's see. Let me make sure and get you unmuted. There you go.
Oh, thank you. I'm doing terrific. I just was typing in that my Zoom has crashed 3 times whenever you were going to switch to Twine or something. So I've had to re-enter.
Yep, breakout rooms. So sometimes breakout rooms is one of the primary times when Zoom might crash.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
One of the other ways too, when you get a break, see if you can upgrade Zoom if you have not done it recently.
Yeah, all right.
So that might be the other place where that is. I'm not sure if I got AB matching yet.
I was all by myself, so I came back. I was lonely.
You can
so
come back.
lonely.
You can come back here. Thank you, Aaron. All right, so let's see. Are you a first timer or alumni?
I'm a first timer.
You're a first timer. So here, let's do this. All right, what do you want to get out of this event experience? That's the first timer question.
3 new things.
Okay, perfect. Debbie, first timer, alumni.
First timer.
You're a first timer too. Okay, great.
Yeah.
What are you looking to get out of this experience?
I am looking for things to help virtual presentations and such be more engaging while also simple.
Simple, yeah. I mean, really the key, hopefully you look forward to the session that I'll be presenting too, which is how to improve your next virtual meeting, no additional tech. And that's, to me, was one of the trends that I'm really getting a message on, is telling people are saying, I don't know if I want to do all these other cool, crafty tricks.
Yeah, yeah.
What I can tell you is that, and another person came back and said to me too, and said that there was actually so much broken in meeting design before the pandemic started. Right? Bad meetings were already bad meetings. It's just that virtual just magnified them, so that there are still plenty. There's a whole litany of things that we can do with that.
Sure.
So let's see. I'm gonna allow this room to go on about a minute more, and then I'm gonna bring Ann back. What about you, Tiger?
Probably 2 things. I'd like to figure out how to engage. Most of the schools that I was speaking to live, whole assemblies became multiple classrooms on meetings that were so disengaging for the students, and they had such poor camera resolution and microphone, and it was just and so one way to improve that and or improve or offer advice to those schools that what's the point in taking the class period to do this if it doesn't actually engage the students.
What's great too is that growing up, these students had an experience that nobody, right, in their history has ever had. And so, I mean, there's some part of it that is like, poor these students, that nobody expected this. But there's the other part too, which is like, there's so many new opportunities, I think, to discover because we have to do it. So, all right, here I'm going to close all rooms. Let's see. Let's bring everybody back, and then we'll close up this session. So thank you so much for that. Thanks for hanging out with me. All right, let's see. I think we got everybody. All right, welcome back, Ann.
don't know. I feel like you might have launched just before I was finished, but hopefully people got into some conversations.
We got a few of the conversations in there, and we're very close to the end of our time. But what the key here of what Anne is doing with Twine is that you can self-designate first-timer and alumni, and what it's going to try and do is match a first-timer with an alumni. So for those of you who do something like a hosted buyer program, you have buyers and sellers. You can tell the system to only match buyers and sellers. You can also tell it to do strict matching, or it can do loose matching to take the extra people and have them still network. And these are all hard problems. Like if you've ever tried to do it in Zoom, what you had to do was like load a table into Zoom for the breakout rooms, run the breakout room, stop the breakout room, reload another map that you pre-made, and then you have to deal with all the people who didn't show up. And so there's a multitude, I think, of problems that were like this before this. And also I tried to do another version of this, and which was to put people into speed networking, then try and jump people to rooms, but I was moving them. And you always jump somebody in the middle of a sentence. And then it's like, you freeze and then you're on to the next thing. So it wasn't smooth. It was very awkward. But I can tell you that I got to use Twine at a conference for Notified, where one of our good friends had her company bought by Notified, and Twine was invited there. And I was like, I don't know, I want to go to this networking thing, but I'm like, it's Anne's program, I'm going to support her. So I go and do their third meeting. I get the CEO of the company.
Yeah.
And not only did I get the CEO of the company, I got a meeting after that, which he goes, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing, right? Make sure and connect with me. And I actually got a meeting with his team and his staff. And so that's where I think the value of virtual networking is. So with that, Anne, we got just a couple minutes to close up and give our group a short break. But do you have any of your final questions, or do you want any final comments from your audience?
Yeah, no final questions or comments from me. Just thank you for having me. I'm going to drop a link into the chat if you want to find out more about the app. I'll also put my contact info in there if you want to reach out and we can chat further. I know there's some questions about how the app works, and what I did was I let John run the app for me today, which was exciting but nerve-wracking for me. So if you want to chat more about it, I'd be happy to. I'm always looking at how to solve online connection. I think that it's going to be a very important part of our future. Like I said, how people work, how people meet. So it's a problem we're constantly looking at. Love the insights from this group. So thanks for having me, John.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause. Hold on, I'm actually going to I'm going to get the gallery up. Let's give some applause to Anne. Thank you so much. All right, we got about a 7-minute break. If you want to chat with Anne, you can also ask her any questions while she'll be here for a few more minutes. Feel free to private chat her. While we do that, Josh, are you ready? So again, now's the time to take a break. If you want to learn more about our academy, Josh is going to give a little 5-minute preview of our Engaging Virtual Meetings Academy. Let's see, let's bring up Josh. Hey Josh, how you doing? Oh, let's get you unmuted.
Did myself. There we go.
You did it all by yourself.
Yeah, I've got power. Apparently you're trusting me with stuff. Well, thank you. Thank you, John, for inviting me on the stage. I'll share a screen here. Oh, I can't. Haha.
And you
will give me all the power.
Boom, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
And let me actually turn on share screen.
So
you're ready now. Go ahead, Josh.
Quite a few months ago now, between the last conference and this conference, John asked me a question. He said, can you gamify my Zoom conference? I said, sure. I can do it in Zoom somehow. We'll figure out a way. So I wanted to share what happened. So main thing was, how can we continue to increase engagement in virtual events? That was kind of the question. And I gave it a lot of thought until around July. We were like, well, let's just do this. Let's develop the Engaging Virtual Meetings Academy. This is a brand new thing we're releasing with this event, and anyone who's a VIP member is getting a free, well, not free, it was a VIP membership for an entire year. So this is your early adopter membership now to a VIP space for a community of practice, to go on with On's statement there, because it's based on community of practice. I'll talk more about this on Thursday. It's a fully gamified learning experience. It is essentially a school of thought for Engaging Virtual Meetings. We are evolving Engaging Virtual Meetings. So what is this space? If you go to engagingvirtualmeetings.academy, I don't know if you can see that, then you can sign in there. If you are not a VIP, if you are a VIP, you should have gotten an email with a login password to jump into this site. If you have any trouble, you can reach me at info@flyingcloudsolutions.com. I'll put that in the chat in just a moment. So you can log in, create an account, and once you're in, it is a social networking platform. So that's one of the key features here for community is social networking. So we have groups around karaoke. So we're going to gamify karaoke and give you awards for joining the karaoke events and singing at karaoke. You can also get different ranks within this system. There's a lot of achievements to gain, but it is a social platform. So we're going to investigate the Engage framework and really break it apart and evolve that so that we continue to get better at engaging virtual meetings as a whole. On this site, there are also quests and events. So events like we're in right now, and also quests. These are kind of like online courses, but they're developed in web quest form, which means that you're going to have to be collaborative. They're collaborative. They're about searching and trying to come up with new ideas and not just here's the info, here's a test on it. Nothing like that. It's all about engaging. Everything is about engagement. There's these engagement spirits who are going to guide your journey. As you can see, they're all these stick figure guys, and they are very mischievous. I will say that right now. We have the engagement queen. She is the key figure of the first quest that we've made available, which is engage and interact with every attendee. There's groups up there. There's 4 main groups right now, but you can also create your own groups when you come in. We'll see how this evolves as well. Newsfeed, shop, and partners. So we'll be looking for more partners to help drive this space. Achievements. This is what pushes you forward. This is the gamification element. So we are rewarding you for good behavior, and also we are taking away engagement points and coin for bad behavior. There is engagement points and engagement coin on this site. Coin is used for buying things. So you can actually use coin that you get in the shop on this site, which means you can use it to discount future memberships, get into events, get it buy swag, buy John's book. There's a lot of things you can use coin for, which is going to be useful. And there's also some major badges that you can get to really show off your status in the community. And for some reason it stopped. Okay, so that's really what this site is. It is a course system to extend John Chen's Engaging Virtual Meetings beyond the event and between events, and it's going to be our collaborative community of practice moving forward. So upgrade your engagement with this fully gamified learning experience. info@flyingcloudsolutions.com if you have any trouble with the platform. It is in beta. I mean, we literally are releasing it today after like 2 months of work. So expect it to be a pivoting often as far as, a startup goes. I will also note here, at the end of each day, we will be rewarding attendees who have been in the event and chatting in the event. So we will be pulling reports, and I will be translating those reports into the system to reward you for achieving. So you'll gain points for actually engaging live as well. You will have to have the same email in your Zoom as you do as you signed up with. Otherwise, I don't have the one-to-one data. So that's all. That's all I have for you. And if there's any questions on the platform, I'll put the links in the chat. So engagingvirtualmeetings.academy and info@flyingcloudsolutions.com is a contact so that we don't bother John while he's emceeing this wonderful event.
Thank you so much, Josh. One of the key parts we've been looking for was how can we gamify engagement, right? How can we incent more engagement? And so we'll reward you for things like we clock the minutes that you've been logged on, chats. If we do have any polls, we're going to take those results, put them inside of there. So help us test out this new system. It's really going to be a centerpiece of our community in the next year if it does what we think it does. And let's give Josh a round of applause. He's going to present all the behind the scenes of his design on Thursday, right? Josh, what time's your talk at?
10, I think.
You better know before Thursday. All right, thank you so much.
Thursday.
All right, all right. Top of the hour. Thank you so much. This next guest used to work for Disney, but now, I got to meet her during pandemic. Totally blown me away with her company, which is, of course, Beyond Virtual Events. She takes all of that experience and brings it here. I've been so impressed. I've been so honored to hang out with her, meet her, and learn a little more from her. Let's give a warm round of applause for Ella Glasgow.
What is going down, y'all? Hello, hello, hello. John, I'm so excited. I'm so excited, but I need to jam out just a little bit. Can I jam out just a little bit? Just,
Everyone
can
else
I see?
jam out.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me here today. I am really excited to be here with all of you to share with you some of the things that I have learned over the years of how to be really dynamic and really own the virtual stage. And today I'm going to be sharing with you some super secrets. Are y'all okay with some super secrets? Let me know if you're okay with super secrets, because if you're not okay with super secrets, then I will just go ahead and not lay down the real secret. Okay, all right. All right. The super secrets are what you're after. So let me give you an overview, a little quick overview of what I'm going to be talking about today. So I said I want to give you the super secrets. These are things that you may not have heard before, that your top presenters, the presenters that you are admiring, and you're like, how are they making all of this happen on the stage? Like, they're connecting with me, like they're making me feel like they see me and all of that. What are they doing? Those are the things that I'm going to reveal to you today. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is how to be dynamic. How to be dynamic using your voice and your body. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I'm also going to be talking to you about how to direct it. I'll talk deeper about what I mean by directing it, and I'll let you now think and try and figure out what I mean about directing it. But I'm going to show you how your favorite speakers are doing that and directing it. Next, I'm going to talk with you about how to own it, because I told you what I'm going to be talking about today is how to own the virtual stage after all. So I'm definitely going to be talking to you about how to own it and something very specific. But I want you to know that these things that I'm talking about today, while I'm telling you that it's something that you're going to be using for virtual stages, it's not just the virtual stage that this is for. This is really important for you because it's really time for you and anybody you may have heard to stop blaming platforms for the reasons why people aren't staying awake or listening to your virtual presentations, because it's not the platform's fault, regardless of what the platform is. And when it comes to presenting, your goal at the end of the day is to make an impact in your listeners and the ones that are listening to you, and they come for you because there is a transformation that you have promised. Yes, Miss Roberta. Yes. All right. I like when people take the things in. It is hashtag not the platform's fault. It is so true. So I want you to remember this one thing. Your ability to make an impact is not impaired by the platform. It is impaired by a misunderstanding of how to use the platform effectively. Effectively. Did you catch that? Did you catch that? Okay. All right. So today I'm going to be going over as much as I can in the time that we have together. And I want you to know that what I'm talking about today, just a heads up, what I'm talking about today is actually from one of my larger programs that if you want to know more about it, I will tell you more about it at some point. So you're probably wanting to know why in the world you should listen to me and why I can say that I know what I'm talking about. Well, firstly, I have performed on stages. I've worked and sung and been on stages around the world, including being on TV. And I've been talking to the camera to create content since 2016. So I know a little bit. And I've taken all of these skills that I've learned and put them into the framework that I have been using to teach to people for quite some time, for the last couple of years at least. I've also been on TV. If you've ever seen a commercial for Daly's Frozen Cocktails, that was me. And I mentioned to you that I've been on the stage, on the virtual stage, for quite some time. I had my own little TV show for a hot second, for a hot second. So I am taking all of these skills that I've learned over, hold on, y'all, I'm going to tell you how long it's taken me to learn these skills. Do you want to know how long it's taken me to learn these skills? Over 20 years. Over 20 years. Okay? Now, is it going to have to take you that long? No. Because you got me. And some of the stuff I'm going to tell you today is it literally took me years to understand. And I'm so excited that I get to share these things with you. And I'm going to pull back the curtain on some of the things, like I said, that you've been watching some of your favorite speakers, performers do, that you've been like, how did they do that? This is how. The things that I'm going to be telling you today are how. And the first thing I want to talk with you about is how to be dynamic, be dynamic, and own your voice. Come on through, Kristen. I saw you dancing and jamming. She said, you can cheer with me. Be dynamic.
I love it.
Be dynamic. I love it. So the first thing I want you to do in order to be dynamic, there are so many things that people can think about, and maybe you've heard about dynamic and being dynamic on the stage. But I want to speak to you about something that you may not have even thought about, that you may have looked over. These are things that as I tell them to you, you're going to go, that's what they've been doing. Okay. So when it comes to being dynamic, I want you to think about being dynamic with your voice. With your voice. How many of you have witnessed on the virtual stage or the in-person stage, and you've heard it talked about many times, the person that is just, they have absolutely no color to their voice at all. They speak and they drone on and on. They are monotone and they just can't seem to find the energy, to bring the energy to, right? And people have said, they've said you've got to use some color in your voice, and maybe you've gone to a training or 2 or 3 and they have told you that you should use some dynamics in your voice, but you've been confused as to what that really meant. First, yes, they make you tired. Their energy is tired and make you tired at the same time, Lord Jesus. I don't want you to be tired. Okay? And whoever you're presenting to after today, if I come to your next talk and you are giving me tiredness, I'm going to come and find you. I'm going to find you. Okay? Because after today, you know better. All right, so when it comes to vocal dynamics, there are a whole host of colors that are available to you, but some people, and it may be you, I'm not going to point any fingers because I haven't heard any of your voices yet. I don't know what you do. So whatever it is I say today, just take it inside and let it marinate for a second, okay? But some people seem to think that their vocal colors are relegated to the 3 crayons that you got at BJ's restaurant. You know the crayon packs that you get at the restaurant, right? You remember those? I have a kid now, so like I ask for them, but they're really for me. Okay, so the 3 crayons, right? But I'm here to tell you that, y'all, you have the 64 Crayola pack. You remember the 64 Crayola pack? You know, the one that had the sharpener in the back? You know that one? You remember that one? That's the one that you have. Yes, Lori, that's the one that you have access to. Yes. I may or may not have just bought myself a pack of 64 crayons with the sharpener on the back because I want, yeah. See, Donna knows what I'm talking about. You have this available to you with your voice. Now, when I'm telling you these things, you may not have recognized that you had all 64 colors available to you. And maybe if you work at it real good, you might even have like, I don't know, like the 100 Prismacolor pack, like, you know, the color pencils, you know, the expensive ones. Okay. You choose which box you have. But how you go about using that box, how do you go about accessing those colors? Because you may have the box, but you may not know what to do with the box. Someone saying Nicole is an artist. As an artist, Nicole understands how to take a green and a fuchsia and an auburn and merge those together into making something absolutely gorgeous. But when you first get that 64 pack, because I just revealed to you today that you have the 64 pack, you may be like the young artists, the young children that you see, they just took the whole box out and just, which is equivalent to the person that just says, because someone told me that I should raise my voice and lower it up and down, that is dynamics, and I'm going to just use all the colors. That's the equivalent, okay? But today, I want to show you how you can begin to access those colors, because while I'm telling you that the box is available to you, you may feel that some of the colors are stuck inside the box because they may have been left out in the sun for a little bit and they melted on the bottom and they stuck to the box and you're trying to like wiggle and jiggle it out. So I'm gonna show you how to access those colors, and I'll talk a little bit about how you can use those colors to your advantage. Some of your colors are stuck in the box, Miss Roberta. I don't want your colors to be stuck in the box anymore. So let's loosen some of these colors, okay? So we're gonna do an exercise. John, I need you.
I'm here for you.
I want you to be on the screen with me because I want you to do this with me because I know, even though I didn't tell you this exercise that I'm going to do, I know that you won't be embarrassed to do it. And we'll see if anybody else will do it with me, okay? Now okay. I'm surprising John right now with pulling him on to do this, but I know he's game. So we're going to do a vocal exercise right now. Now, I mentioned to you, John, I mentioned to you that I've spent over 20 years learning these skills. Part of those 20 years is being a professional singer. on stages and being a voice coach for singers and speakers, which is why I have these tools in my pocket. Okay? But I want you to keep this in mind. You all in the room, watching in the stream, wherever you are, I want you to keep this in mind. What I'm about to give you today, it is not for you to be, I don't expect you to be Beyonce today. Okay?
That's good for me. I don't think I'm Beyonce.
I don't expect you to be Michael Bublé today. Okay? All right? So I'm just giving you the forewarning so that you can prepare. Everybody put your hands on your chest, on your heart. Because I want you to prepare your whole heart, soul, and mind for what's about to happen. Because you're going to make some sounds that you may not have heard yourself make before. Everybody's on mute, okay? Nobody can hear you. I don't want you to be embarrassed by the sound that you make. I don't want you to freak yourself out, although you might. Just know that sounds are going to come from yourself today that you may not have accessed before. And it's okay. This is how we loosen the crayons, okay? So the first exercise we're going to do in the vocal world, we call it a siren because it sounds like a siren. It's crazy. All right. I'm going to demonstrate it for you, and then John's going to do it with me. John, I promise I'll do it with you. I won't leave you hanging out there all alone. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to go from as high as we can go to as low as we can go. Okay. It sounds like this. This is the first half of it. Woo! Okay. Now remember, I said, I don't expect you to be Beyonce or Michael Bublé today. And as high as I went may not be as high as you can go. Go as high as you can go. Okay? Are you ready?
Ready.
On the count of 3, everyone and John. Ready? 1, 2, 3. John, you're a cheater.
Oh my God, this is so amazing. How did you do that?
It's magic. It's magic. I love you so much. I love you so much. All right. For really and truly. For really and truly. All right. You ready? Everybody do this with me, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Woo! Yes. All the way down. Perfect. So I want to point out something that John did that you probably heard that was really, really great. And you might have felt it or heard it with yourself as well. So what John did, he started as high as it could. What John, that was nice. You got some range up in there.
That I don't have.
He's a karaoke king. So when John came down, did you notice how when he got towards the middle of his swoop, there was a little bit of a chink that happened? He said, woo, and he kind of dropped a little bit. That may have happened for you as well. That's your vocal break, and it's totally okay. It can squeak and squawk and crick and crack. Let them happen. Let the squeaks and squawks, cricks and quacks happen. And then the other thing that he did, he didn't try and cover it up. He just did it. The more you do it, the more that will be eliminated. That break sound will be eliminated. The other thing that he did that's super duper great, he went all the way down into the bottom of his voice, and it had kind of like a creaky door sound. Okay? I want you to go all the way down into that sound. That's your lowest note. That's your lowest pitch. Are these pitches that you're going to be like using while you're speaking? Probably not. But the thing is that what I'm giving you right now, like I said first, is helping you to access all of the colors that are available to you in your voice so that at any given moment you have access to them and you can use them while you're on the stage. The other thing that it's doing for you is, giving you cheats. It's warming up your voice. This is the cheetah way to warm up your voice without a piano. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay. So the next part of that, we went down, but we need to go back up. Okay. So let's go back up. It's going to sound like this. Ooh. All right. From bottom to the top. Okay, John, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Everybody in the room, are you ready? Everybody in Streamland land, are you ready?
Streamland.
Okay, here we go. Streamland land. I'm giving you so many words today. All right, on the count of 3, from the bottom to the top. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ooh. Yeah. Now you may have noticed, and you saw this with John, because you're still trying to figure out where your voice is. And I'm saying this not just for John. I'm saying this for all of you. As you're doing this, did you notice how John took a little bit of a longer time to go through the bottom part of his range, and he was like searching for where that break was happening, not maybe consciously, but the break was coming, and it felt a little different going up than going down. And I want you to put into the chat. I want you to put into in the chat, which was easier, going down or going up? Down, 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 going up. Okay, down, up. Okay, now this is important. Do you see here in the chat? Everyone is different. Going down was easier for some, while going up was easier for some. That means nothing about whether or not you're good or bad, indifferent. It's just your voice. And you have to learn your voice. Where have you seen and heard dynamics like this, vocal color like this, used to a high degree? I'm going to give you an example that everybody knows. Have you heard of a woman named Oprah? Oprah? Yeah? Thank you so much, John.
Wait.
Yeah.
You get a book, and back to you, Ella.
Right? And so when Oprah is on the stage, you remember that time, as John just mentioned, the You Get a Book, right? She said, or You Get a Car, was the You Get a Car, right? It was the Christmas show. And she came from, so everyone, I am really excited about what we're going to be doing today. It's my favorite things. And today is something that we've never done before. And you get a car, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. And she jumped to the top of her vocal range, right? Right? That is vocal dynamics. And once you take a hold of the colors in your crayon box, you can use those vocal colors to create a gorgeous picture that guides your audience along on a journey, that keeps them pulled and enthralled in with you, that you can use to help them go exactly where it is that you want them to go by simply using the power of your voice. Yeah? It's so incredibly cool. This is stuff that I could literally talk about all day, but I don't have the time for that. I know that I promised you some other things. Before I move on, would you all, if this is something that you are, that has helped you and you would like more of, let me know in the chat if you would like me to do one more little exercise to help you with your voice, to help you uncover your vocal color. Let me know in the chat if you'd like to get one more. All right, one more time. All right, so I'm going to give you an official one. And John, this is something that I didn't give to you. I'm going to give you an official one. And if you would like, I wasn't sure if I was going to give this today, but I think that I might if you want it. If you want it, I actually have a whole vocal warm-up for you that is an easy vocal warm-up. If you want it, let me know in the chat and I will make sure that I make that accessible for you through John. Okay, so it's more than just the siren, it's more than just the scale that I'm about to give you. So we're going to do a 5-tone scale. All right, 5-tone scale is super easy. And when you hear the word 5-tone scale, don't get scared. It's just 5 tones. It's as simple as that. Okay. All right. So the scale we're going to do, we're going to go up and go down. Sounds like this. For you boys. Okay. Remember I said we're not trying to be Beyonce. We're not trying to be Michael Bublé right now. Okay. At the end of the day, anything that I give you, if anything hurts, stop, because you're doing it wrong. If it hurts, it's not right. Always look for a way to make it feel good. That goes for your speaking as well. If your voice is hurting while you're speaking, you are doing something wrong. You should never have a voice that hurts, even if you've spoken for 2 hours. Okay? Cool. All right, cool. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to hum. It's going to be super easy, super simple. We're just going to hum on the 5-tone scale like this. Okay? Super easy. Try that with me. I'm not going to take a long time on this because I want to make sure that I get to the other things. Ready? Super duper easy, right? And you can take that and you can go up. And then that in that little handout that I told you that I was going to give you to John, it will have the whole thing for you to do. Okay? Is that good stuff? Is this good stuff, releasing your voice and helping you to understand how to be more dynamic vocally on the stage? Yeah? All right. Cool. Well, I told you that I had 3 things to give to you today. So let me go ahead and give you the second thing. And that is, I want you to direct it. I want you to direct it by owning the room. Owning the room. So when I say own the room, I'm talking about your little square. Your little square. I don't have much going on my virtual stage today, but I know that you have seen some that have way too much going on in their virtual stage. They have not owned the room. I'm talking about the ones that have a bunch of junk behind them. Some that I've seen, they've got a printer with papers disheveled. They've got all kinds. Wait a minute. Kristen, I'm not pointing anyone out here. I'm speaking of people from my past. I'm not looking at you directly. But I want you to be able to own, I want you to be able to own the room. I want you to be able to direct your space, direct the attention. And that's really what I'm getting at. When it comes to your time on screen, your space on screen, I want you to use the space around you to create interest. I want you to use the space around you to direct the attention of those that are watching you. So how can you do this? How can you make this happen? Well, one of the things that you can do, I'm going to give you an example of a speaker that we were working with. My team and I, we were producing an event with this speaker who she was in it to win it. She was there to take in every single thing that we had for her. And when I tell you that she took this particular direction to heart, it literally changed the game of her particular presentation. She used what she had in her space. She didn't have a whole bunch of stuff in her room. I think she had a little backdrop in her space that had kind of her logo on it. And that was really it. But instead of letting that be something that stopped her, because she was telling a story. She was telling a story about money. And the beginning of her story was very dramatic. It was kind of sad. And one of the things that she was afraid of when she saw how everyone else was coming onto the stage, we did walk on music for everybody, and everybody else walk on music was like was all jumpy and hypey and everything. And she was like, my walk on music is not like that because of what I'm doing. I said, that's fine. Let's hear it. And then let's hear what you're talking about. And her music was more like, oh Lord, I believe in you. It's just something really soft and easy, right? And then she started telling the story, and we were like, wait a minute, okay. And we gave her some direction. And she took what we gave her and she went above and beyond. It was amazing. Because what needed to happen, I want you to think about your own stories that you tell on stage. What needed to happen was that she was talking about something very hard. Because when it comes to money, and some of the stories that we have when it comes to money, they can be very deep, they can be very dark, and they can be very painful. And she was starting with pain. But unlike being on the physical stage, where I had another client doing the exact same thing, starting her story off with a very scary moment where she was being chased by her mother with a knife at the age of 7. This is how she began the story. And I told this particular speaker on her physical stage that she had to find a way, she had to move herself from where she was standing to tell that scary story away from that spot, because she needed to direct the attention of the audience and move their energy from fear to triumph. And we do that on the physical stage to help direct our audience and keep their energy where we want their energy to be. But how do we translate that onto the virtual stage? So back to the other speaker that was with us at the virtual event that had the logo background and had the story about money that was dark and painful. The next thing that she needed to say was, but I overcame, and here's how. But she's just in this little space, and she didn't have a bunch of room. So what did she do after we told her about directing? I was so proud when I saw it. She came on, and she had on a pair of glasses. And she said, my money story was painful. I had all these things happen. But then I overcame. And it was the simple act of taking off her glasses that changed the energy. Because glasses, Stacy, was in pain. Non-glasses, Stacy, had overcome. What? That's literally what we said when we watched her do it. We said she went all the way in. I want you to think about when it comes to your right bend and snap indeed. When you think about your next virtual presentation, how can you direct your audience's attention from one subject to the next? Maybe that means that even if you don't have a lot of space like Stacy did, maybe there is a prop that doesn't feel proppy, because that was completely unexpected, right? When she came on stage, she had glasses on. We were just like, okay, she's got glasses. Maybe she needs to read something. Oh no. Oh, she's doing something. And the cool thing is, your audience will have no clue that you are just pulling them along. Now you know, because I'm telling you the secrets. But this is what your most cherished, your most admired speakers are doing on the stages, in person and virtually. They're using the space around them. They're getting farther away from the camera and coming up closer when they want you to really listen. And they're using the space to the left and to the right of them to help them convey different dynamics, different energies, so that you can move with them and your energy is not stuck in one spot for their entire presentation. Yes? Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Y'all getting it? Is it having some, I see some hands, I see them. Is it making those wheels turn on how you can up level your next virtual presentation? Yeah? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, so I've got one more. I've got one more for you. Are you okay for me to give you one more? Especially since I promised it. I want you to own your space. Own your space. So when I'm talking about owning your space, I'm talking about your physical in your room space. Now, you may be like Stacy, and you may only have a little square of a space in your house. And even if you only have a little 3x3 space in your house, you can still own that space and make it look incredible. You do not need a whole lot of room to make this square look awesome and be awesome. And you don't have to use a green screen. What? You don't have to. So I'm saying that. How do you move around if you're in a wheelchair? Oh, who's asking that question? Where's Mary? Mary, if I had time with you, it's possible. It's possible. Hey, Mary, it's very, very possible. Now, Mary, I will keep that question. John, can you just remind me when we get to the Q&A time to just expound on that particular question? Because I have an answer for you, Mary, but I want to make sure that I get through this. Thank you so much. I want to make sure that I get through this before. So when it comes to your space, while today I'm seeing that I have a little halo that looks like I might be on a green screen, I'm not actually on a green screen today. I am in my room with a purple bed sheet behind me. Okay? Now, in the beginning of the pandemic, I did indeed pull the purple bed sheet off of my bed, to which my husband said, "Why are you taking our sheets?" So then I bought more purple sheets from Amazon for $10.99. Okay? So it doesn't take a whole lot. And there was, I don't remember his name, John, he was on before me, the magician. I've seen his lovely face before. Yes, and he was talking to you about uplighting and things like that, all of those lovely things. There's so many things you do. Y'all, when I began, I'm not even talking about the pandemic, not even just the pandemic. I'm talking about in the beginning, starting at the very beginning, when I first started to stream live, I was using my white wall and the lights that I used to use on stage because they didn't have anything else to. Do you have to have these colored lights? Because these lights that I have are DJ lights and they are not necessarily cheap. Do you have to use RGB lights like I'm using? No. You can go shop your house just like your favorite reporters do. And you think their house is cute? No, they're seen as cute. They just shop their house and went and found a lamp. You can too. Put a little red light in it. Or a little pink light. Maybe not a red light. Don't do a red light. Don't do red. Don't do red. Forget I said that.
Gifts from Amsterdam. I just want you to know.
Say that one more time.
Oh, so we got guests from Amsterdam. No red, says Kristen.
No red. Yes, Nicole. Look, When I first wanted a green screen, now I have a green screen behind this curtain. I have an actual green screen. But when I first wanted a green screen, y'all, I went to the Dollar Tree and I got me some green poster board, some lime green poster board. And I put me some command strips, hooked it all up with command strips. Okay. So you do not have to go spend a whole lot of money to make things happen. Start with what you've got and make what you've got work. And then when you have more, you can do more. But you can look amazing with what you got in your house, simple framing, and make people think that you spent $1,000 when you didn't. Okay? Cool? Oh, okay. Okay, so can we recap just a little bit? Is that all right? Can we recap what we've talked about today? Because I've talked about quite a bit. So first of all, we talked about being dynamic and owning your voice and getting out on the vocal playground. Getting out on the vocal playground. And I know I didn't call it that before, but that's typically what I do call it. I usually call it the vocal playground, which is a playground that you may not have been on in a really long time. When you were a kid, that's what you did every day. You didn't care about what your voice was doing. You were screaming, yelling, and singing all the time. And I'm inviting you to get back on the vocal playground to discover what it is that you can do with your voice to help pull your audience in and guide them on a journey with the beautiful word paintings that you are painting with your voice on the screen. Then I asked you to direct it using your body and maybe a prop or two to direct the attention of your audience and guide their energy throughout your presentation. And then I asked you to own your space using simple things that you can find in your house or the Dollar Tree. And I thank you so much for being here with me today. And yes, the Dollar Tree, not the Dollar Tree, the Dollar Tree. I thank you so much for your time and your attention today. And I love all the ahas that I saw flying through the chat, and please keep those coming, those things that made you go, duly noted, writing that down, making that happen. And I encourage you to take what it is that I've given you today and not just say, okay, that was really cool, but go out and actually use it, because everything that I've given you today, you can do literally right now, because we can't hear you. So if you start doing vocal sirens, it's totally all right.
Wait, am I unmuted?
So now I would love to, John, I would love to have you back. And I know that I want to be able to answer some questions. And thank you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Let's do this. Yeah, let's do this, Ella. Go to the chat and let's say thanks, Ella, for an amazing presentation. There he goes. There's some more Beyonce. I can do that one too. Yeah, let's bring in Marianne back. We got a little time.
Yeah.
So it's 11:44 here on the Pacific Coast. Again, if you want to take a break, now's the time to take your break. Come back at the top of the hour. Rachel Kosar is in the house. She's going to teach you how to be more human in virtual here. And you want to see this cool new tech tool. It is one of my secret weapons. But let's bring in the one and only Marianne. If you have a question, too, for Ella, just let me know, and we can get it answered here in the next 10 minutes. Marianne, we're back to you and your amazing question. Make sure and unmute. Oh, I'll get you. Wait, I got it. Go.
Oh, you're so much quicker than I am. Yeah, I am physically in a wheelchair some days I use a walker. How, when you're doing a presentation, can you get that movement that you need?
Oh, right. Okay. So, a couple of things. And I'm going to ask you some questions as well, Marianne, because this is new for me and I want to make sure that I'm understanding. And when I say new for me, it's not an experience that I have personally, but I have watched it happen on the physical stage. But I want to explore with you the possibilities for you on the virtual stage. So on the first thing that comes to my mind for you, the way that you can use the space while you're in your wheelchair is that you can shift from one side to the next, right? You don't have to keep yourself always centered. So like right now, you're leaning over to the left side of your screen, or your left side, right? But let's say you were talking about something and you were saying to the people, there was something that you were being thoughtful about, right? I'm thinking about such and such, blah, 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 yakety schmackety. And I may, I've decided I'm going to do this. And move yourself back to center, which also shows that you are centered yourself. Energetically, you're centered. Physically, you're centered. And you can move that energy using both sides. You can use the other side to lean as well, right? The other thought that I had, and you tell me, yeah, exactly. And this is also going for you specifically. The way that you're going to be able to make that work is to make sure that your framing gives you the dynamics that you need. So right now your camera's a little too far from you to make it be visible to everyone, right? And really take up that space. So I would encourage you to get your framing so that you don't have so much above your head, right? Get that a little closer down. And this is something you don't have to do today, but you'll want to bring that down and get yourself framed really well so that when you do start making these moves, and also if you have the ability to, you see how I'm framed and you can see kind of, let me get a little closer, you can see my chest up to the top of my head, and then I move back, you can see a little bit more, and I could probably bring my camera down some more, but I had it framed so that I can walk back and come forward and still be framed pretty well, right? So you'll have to be thinking about those things for you and how you can make those moves that you make from your wheelchair make the most impact. That's the first thing. The other thing that I'm thinking about, and you let me know if this is something that is possible for you, because you mentioned that you also use a walker. So I'm wondering if it's possible for you to sit in an armed rolling chair as opposed to a wheelchair. Is that a possibility for you?
That would be a possibility.
If that's a possibility for you,
yeah, I'm in a regular chair right now with the arms on it.
Okay.
And I'm thinking about, well, I know I'm going to get a new chair of some sort. So
okay, awesome. Okay, so in a wheeled chair as opposed to a wheel chair, you have the ability to go left and right, wheel yourself left and right, just using your feet to push you one way and use your feet to put. Look, you see Marlene's doing it right now.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
And then you would just have to practice. Marlene is.
I got
Marlene,
her.
For me, she's the third on the. Got her. Cool. So Marlene, you see her moving left and right. It would just be a matter of practicing, right, to make it something that's smooth.
Okay.
Right? So those are two options for you, and I hope that that's helpful.
That is helpful. And I just know that there's others out there that have limited ability and may not ask that question. So I wanted to bring it up.
I'm glad that you asked it. There's always, in my mind, there's always a way to make awesomeness happen. It's just a matter of us being willing to reach beyond what we see in front of us at the moment.
Well, I appreciate your answers. They gave
You're welcome.
Some good ideas.
Good. You're welcome.
Thank you, Marianne. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Santa was moving his camera as well. Is that a tool we can use? I mean, a lot of the people whose cameras are moving are usually phones, right? They're mobile.
Yeah, they may have a mobile phone. They may have a cameraman.
You may be on the subway.
Yeah.
One of the things that if you do use mobile cameras, one of the things that we use is a stabilizer. So one of the tools is called a DJI Osmo. What it does, you can put a phone in it, log into Zoom, you can move it around, and really the important reason why to use that, Ella, is because if you do have to move around, it will smooth out, right? Because most of the time people are on phones, it's like you're like putting us on, the wrong, yeah, exactly. It's like earthquake ride. And so you can really smooth that out by doing that. We did a tour of a Black & Decker like Future Center by doing that, by using a combination of that and a Bluetooth mic. And it's amazing. Again, those two pieces of technology probably cost $120. This stuff used to cost like thousands of dollars to do this kind of stuff. And if you get the right tools, you can MacGyver a lot of stuff into looking like a lot of money.
You really can. And I wanted to say, just with what I was saying with Mary Ann and even what you're talking about now with possibly having moving cameras, whatever it is that you do, it has to have purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
You've heard it before, and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to keep preaching it until I cannot preach it anymore. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should, and doesn't mean that it's necessary. Just because you have all 64 colors doesn't mean I want to hear all of them at the same time.
Kim asked a question. Kim, do you mind? Can I bring you up so you can ask your question? Yeah, here she comes. Let's bring her up. Kim Sykes in the house.
Hello.
Hey, Kim, how are you?
Good. So I so enjoyed that presentation. So when I'm doing presentations, my voice will sometimes just bonk, like it'll just go. And I have tea and water available all the time to help. But is the vocal training, will that super help, or will that boost my vocal cords?
Yeah. So there are a couple of things, and without having, without being able to assess your pathology specifically, and just going off of what you've given me today, I'm going to give you some generalizations. When it comes to the voice, the common misconception is that if I throw a bunch of stuff on it, tea, water, whatever, that it will make it better. The thing is, when you think about your anatomy, and this is what we're not all thinking about most of the time, because we've been told this, your vocal folds are in this little space here in a separate tube from your esophagus. If the water, tea, whatever you're putting down there actually went to your vocal folds, you would choke and die. So, everything
You're
that
saying
you're
that would be
doing
bad.
is not necessarily. I'm saying that would be bad.
Yeah.
That would be bad. So what you're doing is not affecting. It's not affecting you immediately.
Huh.
When it comes to the water, you need to have water. Get it in. When I'm going to speak or sing, I am getting the hydration in. I'm doing it. Well, I'm starting at the beginning of the day, first of all, but I'm making sure that at least 2 hours before I get onto the stage, that I have gotten my doses of water in. Why? Because the vocal folds are a muscle that are no bigger than your nail. So when it comes to priority with hydration, they are high on the list. There are bigger muscles that are going to be hydrated first. So in the interim on the stage, are there other things you can do? And I know we've only got 5 minutes. I need to let you go. So the other thing that you can do in the interim, without, if you have some time, you can come and we can talk about some things specifically for you. But on the stage, yes, the vocal warm-ups will help you. You need to start getting used to using your voice in a powerful way. There are other things that need to happen with that. Vocal training will help you immensely. Understanding how to use the breath properly, all of those things, and not the diaphragm. That's another thing for another day. Lord Jesus, so many things to debunk. Anyway, not enough time. Just anatomy. Okay, anyway, okay. All right, so what can you do in the interim when you're on the stage to help you to feel like you're not getting dry in the mouth, because that's most likely what's happening. Yes, your vocal cords, your vocal folds themselves may be dry. I already told you how you can fix that. Make sure that you're getting the hydration long before it's time for you to speak. To help combat that dry mouth feeling that you may be having, you can use apple juice. Just get the apple juice without sugar, like the stuff they want, the one that they give you at Chick-fil-A. I can't remember which one it is, but the little box. It's like Simple.
Treetop.
Whatever it is. Yeah. But apple juice, why apple juice? Because it's the closest in pH balance to the saliva in your mouth. So it will help you to hydrate your mouth. So that's what I use. It will coat your mouth. It's not gonna coat your vocal folds, because now we know it ain't going to them.
Thank you so much.
Cool. You're welcome.
Thank you, Kim. Good to see you.
You too.
All right, Ella, thank you so much for showing everybody how to own the virtual stage and for making me do sirens on live stream. So let's give one more round of applause to Ella. Thank you so much, Ella. Again, Ella's in the chat if you want to chat her a question, private chat her a question. Thank you so much. All right. Hey, are you enjoying this conference? Give me a hands up if you are enjoying this conference. All right, yeah, our gallery, thank you so much. Do you want to learn even more from this conference? Well, then I hope this message is for you. Is anyone here the kind of person that wants all the value to get even better, but your schedule's too busy, there's too many golden nuggets like Ella dropped here that you're having trouble gathering them all? Well, then you need, right, the Engaging Virtual Meetings Conference VIP, the virtually important package, right? In this package, you're going to get so much value that you're going to impress people that you meet, get those challenging people to engage, and you might be declared, a Zoom master at your next meeting. So the most important thing that you get is 60 hours. By the end of this conference, we're going to have 60 hours of replays from amazing speakers like Jeff Evans, right, Ella, and all our other good friends who have been here in the years before. You can learn from the top masters in your own time frame, so you can apply those valuable lessons at your own pace, learn exactly how to do these techniques in your own personal style. The replays are valued at $1,182 in a feature most people don't know about Zoom Cloud replays is that you get searchable transcripts. So you could find any word inside of here, like own the stage or Ella, and the first time that it's mentioned, and every time it's mentioned, you can keep searching through the log so you can get that one video clip that you need immediately. Known as the second most engaging feature of virtual, these replays also have chat. That's right. If you missed a chat today because it's so going so fast, or that you were not logged on, and again, you can't go backwards in chat if you log off and log back on, you actually get the chat logs, and they're all time coded, so you can follow along with the session as you go along with this. The next bonus feature is one of our mission statements, which is that this is not just a conference, this is a community. As Josh showed earlier, we're premiering our Engaging Virtual Meetings Academy. You're going to get a one-year membership until next year's conference. We're going to host new events there, new training, all sorts of other kind of pieces inside of there. $397 in value for that membership in a year as a way to keep connected to all the people that are here. In addition to that, you get 1 hour with me. I'm going to give you an hour of coaching. You can connect with me at any time. I'll fix one of your top virtual meeting challenges, brainstorm new ideas with you, and share new technology so that you can improve your virtual presence. You're going to feel more confident in your next virtual meeting. You can feel proud about your next virtual meeting. So to further help you, we got one other thing, of course, here, and that is your Engaging Virtual Meetings Toolkit. If you have something from your toolkit, hold it up. I see no sorry signs, right? I see the, let's see, you have a whiteboard paddle on the reverse side of that. You can make any sign you want. There's an on-air tag right here, so you can keep unwanted visitors out. Each of these items has been selected and will improve your virtual meetings so that it be the leader in engagement in your virtual meetings. Now, how much is this worth? It all totals up to $1,879, but now you can get it for just, of course, $97 if I can even tag. My air tag is on my door. Thank you, Kim. And so you can get the VIP program here, engagingvirtualmeetings.com/VIP. Just click here, only $97. Again, a lot of people have asked me for the replays, and I'm going to tell you they are super valuable. So thank you so much. Let's get back to our conference. And now we know that, let's see, I have my Nest speaker here. Got to get the right song on here. This amazing woman, we met earlier this year. She has studied ballet, and more importantly, she has developed AI that can watch your virtual camera and give you coaching on the fly, right? As if I was with you or somebody was with you all the time, helping you to do this. I can tell you too that I've been using this, and you can do things such as have better virtual presence or possibly even sell more on virtual. I think that's one of my discoveries. I found I think I'm better selling it in virtual than I am in person. She is the CEO of Virtual, let me get to, oh my gosh. Rachel, when I got Sapiens, where's my other part of the company name?
No, that's right. Virtual Sapiens.
Oh, I did get it right. Okay, good. She's the CEO of Virtual Sapiens, for crying out loud. Let's welcome the one and only Rachel Kosar.
Don't you want me? You know I can't believe it when I hear that you won't see me.
You had human in your title. I had to use Human League.
Oh, yes. No, I love that. Well, it's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So I love for the next 45 minutes, we're going to figure out how to be more human in virtual meetings. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Yes, absolutely. So I feel like I have to just share a little context of my week and day over here. I was just in a breakout room frantically with Donna trying to sound check my microphone because I am not where I usually am for my virtual presence presentations. I actually found out I had COVID, asymptomatic COVID this week. And so had to completely change my virtual backdrop and setup and technology. And so, apologies if it's not sounding as sumptuous as I usually would have my voice sounding. And I feel like, especially after having come after Ella, the amazing Ella, I'm particularly aware of the way I sound. However, the benefit of this session is that we're actually going to be spending a lot of time discussing not the words that we say, but the way we say those words, particularly with a focus on nonverbal communication and body language, right? Those are core aspects that come to the forefront on video. It's a core distinguishing factor for video meetings that make video different from a phone call, from an asynchronous document sharing, from an email, right? And so we can really leverage a pretty expansive toolkit when it comes to nonverbal communication on video as a core piece of establishing and leveraging that human connection on video. So I'm actually going to share, can I, John, can I share my screen or do you want to?
I got
share?
you. Hold on one second. I want to clear you for takeoff on runway 7 here in Zoom land. Go ahead.
Awesome. So I thought sometimes it's helpful, just given my relatively unique kind of background, to share some context on how it is that I went from literally being a ballerina to running an AI software company. So a few moments of my life are here before you represented through images, but I was a professional ballet dancer, danced with Boston Ballet for 10 years. So if any of you are Boston based and saw the Nutcracker or something between the years of 2006 and 2016, you would have seen me perform. I would have been a really amazing snowflake or an awesome Arabian dancer. Let me know, hit me up in the chat. When I retired in 2016 because of a very unfortunate injury, I actually discovered that a lot of these lessons and a lot of this awareness that I had as a dancer, particularly when it came to the power that we all have as humans to connect and express from a nonverbal perspective, translated into this more traditional kind of world of work. And so I founded a company called Choreography for Business, did a lot of in-person live facilitation and coaching with sellers and leaders all over the world. And then the pandemic happened, and I realized that this channel of human communication really had become digital, right? And while we had seen that video was already becoming more and more important before the pandemic accelerated it, right? As we saw with many things during the pandemic. And what I did notice was that a lot of what we were having difficulty with in the virtual setting, whether it's things like updating our nonverbal behaviors so that, you know, we look into the lens when we're speaking, or like, how do we set ourselves up so that we look more 3D and more human and don't feel like we have to have our hands by our face up here in order for our gestures to show, right? What are some of these best practices we can leverage on video so that video meetings can be impactful moments of connection? And then taking it that step further, as you can see my little Virtual Sapiens logo head in the upper right-hand corner, but leveraging AI and some of these cutting edge technologies to, in essence, democratize what had typically been a very high price point type of coaching, right? Reserved for C-suite executives, right? Like everyone needs to be able to feel comfortable and confident in the way they show up as a communicator. And so what we do at Virtual Sapiens enables that by using AI on video calls to provide you with personalized feedback. Now, you actually all will get a free trial of that through this, and we can post that later. But that's the gist of me. And when it comes to what we'll be working on together, right, we'll do a quick presence check-in. We'll discuss why and how body language even matters on video. And we'll look at some very concrete body language tips so that you all can come away with, at the very least, one different nonverbal or body language behavior that you'd like to play around with a little more, right? In essence, none of what we are going to go through today is a, you must do this, otherwise things will not be good, and more that we have this very rich toolkit at our disposal on video. And there's a lot that we can do in terms of choice, right? We can really choose the way we show up, and we can choose, like Ella was saying, how we set up our backgrounds so that we can show off different elements of who we are as a person, who we are as a professional. You get the idea. All right. So this first presence check-in, I'm actually going to ask you quickly, and just pop your answer in the chat. On a scale of 1 to 10, how present do you feel right now? With 1 being not present, I didn't hear the question, and 10 being I am here with you, mind, body, and soul. Awesome. No right or wrong answer, really just to gut check where everyone is at. Remember your number, right? John coming in at 11 billion. Love that. Not even on the scale. So remember your number, just keep it kind of filed away for yourself. What we're going to do now is an exercise called physical anchoring. And what I'm going to do is actually bring down the screen so we can have a little bit more of a human moment here. All right, so physical anchoring is something that I actually did bring over from my years as a dancer, but it is a technique that many performers use, whether they're professional athletes, whether they are actors, singers, dancers, definitely, or even just professionals who are about to go on and do a keynote or some other presentation. It's all about giving yourself a quick moment where you can reconnect with the present moment, with your intention, why you're here, why it is that you might be clicking join meeting, etc. So you can really align around your purpose in that moment. All right, so we're going to go through a quick physical anchoring exercise just to show you the power of it and to give you an idea of something you might be able to take with you as a tool in and of itself. So what we're going to do is find yourself in a comfortable seated position. I definitely invite you to stand if you'd rather try this out in a standing position, but I'll give cues for both seated and standing. When you're in your seated position, I want you to just lower your gaze. Okay, you don't have to close your eyes, but lower your gaze so that you are actually forgetting that you have this lens and screen that's connecting you to over 50 people, possibly more. And bring your entire focused attention to the way that your feet are connecting with the ground. All right. And let's have our feet about at hip width, feet pointing forward. So if your legs were crossed or tucked underneath you, go ahead and uncross them and plant them firmly in the ground. Once you've taken a moment to do that, instead of having your feet just sitting on top of the floor, I want you to actually go ahead and press into the ground in any way that you can, right? Even if it's just the image of pressing into the ground, having roots grow from your feet into the ground, and have any kind of energy that you get from that rooted feeling flow all the way through your legs, all the way through your sternum, and then up through the top of your head so the energy has somewhere to go. And you may notice that in pressing the ground away, the rest of your body reacts. And maybe you've gained an extra 1/2 inch of height, even if you're sitting, right? You may also notice that your knees want to align with your feet so they're not touching or misaligned. So that helps with the flow of the blood flow and oxygen all the way through your body. We're going to have our abdomen just lightly held, nothing crazy. And then when we get to the shoulders, let's do 2 exaggerated shoulder rolls. So we're going to roll the shoulders forwards, all the way up to the ears, and then open and out. One more time, all the way forward, almost like an incorrect posture, up to the ears, and all the way out. And just give your shoulders a little shake and find a position with your shoulders that feels open and natural, right? We don't want to pin our shoulders back and be like, look, mom, my posture is amazing. No, that's not what it's about. It's about something that's comfortable for your structure. Every person has a different structure, so it will look different on everyone. But the feeling is open. Now we're going to tuck our chin to our chest and just see if you can feel a little bit of a release, right? If your head was a bowling ball and it goes off of your neck axis, it can almost feel a little bit like a release in the back of the neck, right? We tend to hold a lot of tension. Roll the head over to the side. Same thing, just let the weight of the head produce the stretch, nothing fancy. Head back down through the center. Over to the other side, maybe this side is different. Head back down through the center. We're not trying to change very much, but just welcome some circulation. Now bring the head back so that it very easily is sitting on top of the neck. You could shake your head no, and it doesn't feel too tight. Find that center with your head, and finally pressing into the ground. Lift your arms up to the sky. Reach one arm up, reach the other arm up. Can you touch the ceiling? How tall can you be, whether you're standing or seated? Open up wide. Take a moment to expand. Maybe this is the biggest you've been all day. Bring the arms back down through the side. One more time, pressing into the ground, reaching up to the sky, opening up wide, angling if you need to, bringing the arms back down to rest in your lap. Now taking a moment to yourself in this connected, elongated, maybe buzzing posture. And notice, do you feel more present? The same? Less present? Come back to your device now and let's use the chat to share how we feel after that relatively short exercise. Awesome. Incredible. Right, so we're either getting increased numbers on that scale of 1 to 10, or we're seeing people say more present, right? And I mean, honestly, if I can get John to go from 11 billion to 11 billion plus 1, I'm like, this is some magical stuff. Very good. Okay, so to note, right, that exercise, let's take stock. That exercise took us about 4 minutes, right? It involved basic movements like sitting or standing, right? Fancy. Anchoring your feet into the ground, doing some shoulder rolls, doing some arm extension, head rolls, taking a breath, taking a beat to connect with this present moment exactly, right? And what that does, right? Going back to this deck, right? What that does is it really enhances your 3D, human experience, right? We can get so drawn in to the lens and the screen that things can start to feel two-dimensional, and then things start to feel flat, and then we become disembodied. And then all of a sudden we're like, well, I don't know, this is the 8th video call I've been on today. I feel totally disconnected. I can't remember one from the other, right? And a big part of that is because we start to lose our true 3-dimensional experience, right? So an exercise like this physical anchoring can go a very long way in a very short amount of time. So you don't even have to do the full series that I took you through. You could do, one really exaggerated shoulder roll before you click join. You could do one deep breath while you're in a call, right? Anything that helps you almost check in, hey, where is my presence on the scale of 1 to 10? Actually, it's kind of low. Let me take a deep breath, right? Maybe I've increased it by 0.5 on that scale, but any incremental increase in the way you feel from a presence perspective is going to help you stay focused, stay engaged, and build deeper connections with whoever it is that's on the other side. Sound good? Awesome. So that's one tip, one tool you can bring forward. I'll also mention that question, how present on a scale of 1 to 10, how present do you feel? That question is an amazing way to start any virtual or in-person meeting, right? And it's different from how are we feeling today? Or where are we calling in from today? Those are both fine questions, but neither of them really get to the core of how are you actually feeling in this moment from a presence perspective, right? And speaking of presence, right? The definition that we'll use for the rest of our time together is this one, right? So we are exhibiting presence when our full range of expression aligns with our intention and we're able to authentically connect with others. So going back to what I said earlier, this is not about you leaving this session and saying, well, Rachel told me that I have to steeple my hands because this makes me look more powerful. No. It's about connecting first with your intention, understanding the expressive toolkit you have, and then making sure there's alignment in a way that feels authentic to you, right? And one caveat is that as we grow, as we develop new habits, as we make different choices based on the channel that we're leveraging to connect, we may feel a little uncomfortable at first. That's because we're developing new muscles, we're rewiring habits, and it can take time and practice before those things start feeling natural, right? And that is very normal. So it's a little bit of a fine line between giving yourself the time and space to practice new things and understanding that it might feel a little not like your authentic self while you're practicing these things, but so long as the intention is there and the choice is yours, I promise you'll be fine. Okay? So moving forward, the 3 tenets of communication, right? We had Ella here. She was so incredible in embodying some of the choices we can make to really leverage this virtual connection. The 3 main areas, right? Vocal, kinesics, verbal. Vocal and kinesics, which is basically a fancy way of saying body language, come together and form that nonverbal umbrella. Now, what happens when all 3 of these elements of communication converge is we get congruence, right? Which in nonverbal communication speak essentially means the most impactful communication we can achieve, because what we're saying aligns with the way we're saying it, both from a vocal and body language perspective, right? And if we're thinking about that nonverbal communication umbrella, right? Using the chat, I'm curious. When you hear the term nonverbal communication, what kinds of cues come up for you when you think of nonverbal communication? Body language, tone, perfect, Kathleen. Yep. Eye rolls, facial expressions. Yes, Erin. Anything to do with the eyes, breath. Yep. Arm gestures, right? Shrugs, crossed arms.
Mike said smiles by note card, by the way.
Smiles by note card. Totally. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, so then, I mean, yes, 100%. Perfect. Right. So, okay. This is obviously a very advanced group because I don't typically get much more than like facial expression, body language, and like maybe posture. But nonverbal communication is anything that communicates a message without the use of words. So yes, facial expressions, gestures, virtual setup, lighting, framing, background, right? The way you leverage your virtual setup using a card that has a word or an emoji on it, 100%. That is nonverbal. You're not taking the time to sit there and say something. You're expressing it through other means, and it's loud. Posture, vocal cues. So we saw that intonation, volume, speech speed, clothing, right? What articles of, how are you leveraging clothing in the virtual environment? Is it different from in person? Probably, right? And then accessories, like the way you've done your hair, makeup, jewelry, tie cuff, like all these things are sending nonverbal messages, whether we like it or not. And so my invitation to you is, let's be intentional about these choices we make so that we can ensure that the message we're sending aligns with the intention, aligns with the message we want to send and the way we'd like to be perceived, right? So one other, we went over physical anchoring, right? We've been understanding some of the power behind nonverbal communication, right? Understanding some of the elements we have to play with. 100 milliseconds, right? That's how much time it takes for anyone to form that initial gut first impression, right? And I'm not talking about like, okay, I've been talking to Rachel for about 30 minutes. I think she's probably pretty informed, confident, no, like within the first 10th of a second, what are you picking up on? If it was in person, right, we would have the way we walk. We would have the way we engage with our eye gaze and our eye contact. We might have what we're holding, whether it's a briefcase or a laptop or a coffee mug. And of course, we would have that handshake, right? We would have a handshake and we would be able to tell very quickly a lot about that person, their experience, their confidence level, their professional acumen in terms of the way that they engage with a handshake. All of that would come very quickly. Virtually, we have these three things. We have our lighting, we have our framing, we have our background. Those are the three things that are the loudest as soon as you click join meeting and you show up in our virtual world, right? And the most amazing thing about these three things is that you can actually control them, right? Ella went over this a little bit, and we've seen John do this in any of, John's connections in this community, leverage lighting, framing, and background and the entire virtual setup in a way that sets them apart, in a way that very quickly sends a message of, oh, this is not going to be my average virtual meeting. Like something's different here. Someone's taken some time to make some choices and create an experience that is going to be pretty significant, right? So things we want to think about, right? Like lighting is pretty simple. You want to make sure you're well lit. You want to make sure the lighting is even on both sides of your face, right? So natural sunlight can be great, but natural sunlight can also be inconsistent throughout a day, right? Framing, again, we want to make sure the lens is at eye height so that we're really entering the call as an equal. If we're looking down on someone from a nonverbal perspective, it's almost like we are belittling them, right? We're looking down on them right from the beginning. It doesn't feel good for the audience member. If, on the other hand, the lens is higher and we're looking up at the lens, we look more childlike. Now, there may be a case or an event where you want to leverage those different power dynamics from the lens perspective. But by and large, as a rule of thumb, best practice, lens at eye height. That might mean you use a box or a book or whatever to bring your lens and laptop up. Or, you can get creative with the way that happens. No one's going to see what it looks like, but they will see that relationship to you, right? The other things you want to think about with framing are distance, right? You don't want to get too close to the lens because that actually makes the viewing experience super, super uncomfortable and intense for the viewer, right? And giving yourself a little more distance means you can be more human. You can use gestures more effectively. You can feel more comfortable. You don't have to feel like you're closed in this tiny little box, right? So you want to give yourself space. And then finally, background, right? You can use pictures that you love of your most recent trip, or a musical instrument, or a picture of a pet or a family member as appropriate. You know, again, it's up to you to make these choices based on your comfort level, what you would like people to see. You can use it as a way to have people engage with you as a human first, right? As opposed to as another virtual kind of two-dimensional person, right? We spoke earlier about how do you bring your 3D perspective into the equation. Leveraging your background and your virtual setup is a way you can really add depth for your audience as well, right? John, do you think, is it helpful to pause for questions? I'm happy to pause. I know I've been sharing a lot of information. I'm happy to continue. Are you keeping track of questions that might be coming up?
Oh, we got a free-flowing chat here, but if anyone would like to expound, please raise your hand or just unmute. I can see you. If you would like to ask Rachel a question, or if you have a comment supporting a lot of these things. A lot of us are big music fans in the room. Anyone else? Let's see. Hunting through the list. There we go. Kristen would like to come join you.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I actually love this. This is perfect because my dance background is 100% different than yours. It is A, non-professional, and B, was belly dancing. So completely different side of the planet. But all of the stuff that I learned, I use in my coaching and I use with my meetings, and I will, have people kind of go from the sternum, relax the shoulders, make sure that they have their frame, all of that. So I'm listening to all of this going, yes, thank you. So that I just had to say thanks.
Oh, no, that's awesome. Also, Kirsten, what's hysterical is that the number of times I say that I was a ballet dancer, I would say 50% of the time people think I'm saying belly dancer. And sometimes, honestly, I go with it. Sometimes I go with it.
That's fine, as long as they don't come up to you and say, oh, so you're an exotic dancer. And I'm like, that's different form.
Yes.
Perfectly fine.
Yep.
Not what I do.
Yep.
So yeah.
That is amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming up to share that. I think one of my, we'll get back into the programming in a moment, but one of the things that I really do believe in is that, as individuals, we go through so many different life transitions, right? Whether that's a professional or a personal transition. And it can sometimes feel like your background is no longer relevant to wherever you're going next. And I think that we do such a disservice to the people in these other worlds that we're moving into by leaving and maybe ignoring some of that background that might seem not as relevant. And it is part of so much of what makes you who you are and what makes you unique. And so the more ways that you can leverage your background and build, these evolving new identities around that, the more powerful I think our worlds will be in general, right? So just something to keep in mind. And Kirsten, thank you so much for sharing that. You've obviously been doing that. So yeah, John, if at any point there's a question that comes up, like just interrupt me. I'm happy to take questions as they come. We'll also have quite a bit of time at the end.
Gotcha, Rachel. Go ahead.
Awesome. Great. So taking note for yourselves of one thing that you might tweak to your first impression, right? That first moment where you join the meeting, where your audience sees you in your virtual space, right? What's one thing you might not necessarily do better, but do differently, right? Based on some of what's being shared, not just in my session, but throughout all of the amazing speakers and content that John's been putting together for you, right? Something to keep in mind. It's your virtual handshake, all right? I sometimes I say it's like your virtual suit, right? So your lighting, framing, and background is essentially this new form of the way that people might have sized you up based on your handshake or your suit if we were in person, right? So I think sometimes we like to squish virtual video-based experiences into the in-person box, right? And be like, well, it should feel the same and it should be the same. No, it's a channel in and of itself. It comes with its own unique challenges and its own unique benefits, right? And so we want to just make sure we're always showing up for the channel that is presented to us in the most appropriate, beneficial way. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about eye gaze and framing, because this is one of the areas that's actually gotten a lot of research recently, right? So eye gaze, we all know to be one of the trickier habits to rewire for the virtual world, right? I'm sure everyone on this call has heard, oh, if you want your audience to feel like you're looking at them in the eye, you have to anchor your eyes into the lens. And yet I'm sure everyone has also felt a little awkward doing that, right? Because we want to look at the people we're talking to, right? But this, from a nonverbal perspective, and this is what studies have shown, right? I'm happily looking at my audience. I've immediately lost that connection with you guys, right? From a nonverbal perspective, neurologically, right? You all are like, well, Rachel's, she's looking away. And if I have to ask my audience to spend like an ounce or a neuron or whatever the right measurement is of their brain power, redirecting their focus to say, no, I know it looks like Rachel's looking away, but actually she's probably looking at me on her screen. That's a waste of your audience's brain power. I want my audience's brain power to be focused on what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, and how they feel about what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, right? So eye gaze is definitely worth some of that practice, some of that rewiring. It's one of the many cues and metrics that we analyze and provide feedback on with our tool at Virtual Sapiens. But this quote here, right? Findings showed significant effects of gaze and camera lens, right? We went over some of the framing dynamics on impression formation, right? And not just impression formation, but what that means specifically related to positively being associated with likability, social presence, and interpersonal attraction, right? Likability, social presence, interpersonal attraction. These are all pretty foundational things that we look for when we're trying to establish a relationship. That relationship could be social, right? It absolutely is professional, right? We tend to want to do more things with people who we like. We want to do more partnership. We want to move forward in a way that is more supported by trust with people who we feel have a strong social presence, right? So it may sometimes seem arbitrary to spend so much time talking about something as simple and natural as eye gaze and framing of all things. Really, we're going to still talk about framing, but it turns out that those are some very, very loud, powerful metrics from a nonverbal perspective on video, right? Happy to send through this study, but it was done this year, right? So spring of 2022, super relevant. And I think we'll see more and more of this kind of empirically backed, evidence-based research when it comes to the behaviors on video specifically, right? Because we've also gone through this phase, like very chaotic phase of the pandemic that felt very traumatizing for many people. And many people didn't have very much choice in the way that they could align their virtual environments, right? And we're coming out of that phase now, and we're seeing that actually showing up on video, using video to connect with clients is more and more of a dependent upon channel of communication, but also there's a lot more choice involved, which means we do have to level up and really leverage some of these tools we have at our disposal.
Rachel, I think Aaron's got a good question. Aaron, can I bring you up?
Sure, was just unmuting.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
So I've been concurrently taking some leadership development classes. And one of the things that they're constantly talking about is how important it is to monitor the body language of people as you're giving them coaching or feedback. So, I understand the importance of looking at the camera to make the connection, but then I also want to maybe be very tempted to look and kind of be really scrutinizing how my message is landing. So can you give any tips of how to strike that balance?
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, because there are two caveats to this eye gaze thing, right? Number one, anchoring your eyes into the lens is what you should, like, the operative term is anchoring, right? Only while you're speaking. So if I'm the speaker, I want to anchor my eye gaze into the lens. That doesn't mean stare, right? So if I were to, yeah, exactly. Like, no problem. Rachel told me to look into the lens when I'm speaking. So it's exactly what I'm going to do. It's super intense. It actually causes Zoom fatigue, and it is very aggressive, right? So we want to keep a little bit of that natural eye contact cadence, which involves, right, every now and then, looking around or referencing some of the other squares of the people that you're speaking with, right? That's one thing. Another thing is, if you're the active listener, you really just want to make sure the direction of your face is pointed towards the lens, right? Because if I'm listening to you and you're looking into the lens and I'm doing something like this, that's fine, right? What we want to avoid is, having someone up on a different monitor and the nonverbal they get from out of the corner of their eye is,
yeah,
right. And we've all seen that. And it's just, again, it requires so much extra thinking on the part of our audience to be like, no, you know what? She's probably not distracted. She's probably not talking to someone else. She's probably got a monitor, but like, it's like, don't do that to your audience. So those two things. And then
they were looking at the other monitor and it was, it was so difficult.
Yeah, it's totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And then I was going to say one other thing. Oh yeah. This is just kind of more set up, basic oriented, but if you are having, like, in general, it's very helpful to be in speaker mode and to hide your self view. In hiding your self view, you will spend like 100% of the time that you would have spent, checking yourself out, which, like, it's just, we all do it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's very, like, we never have an in-person conversation with a mirror being held up, right? So hide your self view. And by having the virtual Zoom or whatever platform you're using more in that speaker mode, you put the person you're speaking with more centered, so that when you do look at them, it's the difference between, this and this. And that difference is so small that, you can reference the person's facial expressions much more easily.
Is there a setting on Zoom where you can make it, if I've hidden my self view and then I get put into a breakout room, I come off of self view. So I spend the very first part of my breakout looking over at the technology to hide myself again. Is there a way to default that, or is that just the way it goes?
John, do you know? I don't think there is, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, currently that's the way it is. It's like if you're in Spotlighted and you start doing breakout rooms, you'll go back into gallery because the person Spotlighted might have left.
Got it. Okay.
Zoom has to make decisions like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your question, because that really beautifully brought up some of the points I was going to make. So to recap, right, it's like, try as best as possible to keep your natural, comfortable eye contact cadence. We're not staring into the lens, we're anchoring into the lens. It's really mostly for when you're the active speaker, and try as much as possible to arrange your Zoom video experience so that you don't have to be looking like completely somewhere else to reference the other humans that you're trying to connect with, right? Awesome. Okay, so moving right along, we're essentially going to recap or cap this whole session off with just a quick overview of some of the other virtual presence cues we can leverage, right? So we talked about physical anchoring, we talked about eye contact, we talked about lighting, framing, background, posture, right? Pretty self-explanatory, but the more at ease, the more open we are, the more the message we send to our audience is of one of being open and welcoming and present, right? So the physical anchoring exercise we did actually has the beautiful effect of reorienting everyone's posture on the call from something that's a little more, slumped, a little more low energy, to something that's just a little more supported, right? Supported and grounded. So you always want to think about posture in a way that is not isolated, right? But really grounded and connected to your feet and your chair, and kind of the way that you're building that postures from the ground up, if that makes sense, right? Eye contact, we covered gestures, a couple notes on that. If your framing is set up such that you have space and you have a playground, it becomes a little more natural to include gestures, right? If you're too close, then the only way that your gestures are being read is, again, if they're like up by your ears, which just feels awkward and weird, right? So we want to give ourselves the space so that we can leverage gestures in a way that feels natural to us. A few hand gestures that are very effective to use on video are things like open palm facing forward gestures. You can gesture to someone on the other lens, right? It doesn't have to be like, you please answer the question, right? But you can indicate that this is what you're doing with your hand at even just the lowest level of the frame. I like to use like more pointed, detail-oriented hand gestures when I am making a point, right? It helps emphasize specific points. It helps me slow my voice down as well, right? Because I want to make sure that everything I'm saying is landing and that you have an opportunity to digest it. Many people are visual learners, so having a little bit of that change in the physicality as opposed to just being a talking head, right? If I were to be talking to you like this for 45 minutes, it would be very different from, this is a big idea, and like, bringing in some of those gesture cues. I will say, developing a hand gesture vocabulary might seem forced or, again, inauthentic, but really it's about coming up with a few tried and true like ranges of hand gestures that you can incorporate in a way that you don't have to think about it, right? But that means you have to practice it. As part of our tool, we have what we call a learning lab, and we have all these videos on, like trying to develop your own hand gesture vocabulary. Here are some like baton gestures and open palm and closed palm and all kinds of things that you can kind of play around with. And vocal cues, I don't have to go into that so much because I know it was very much supported in the other session, but intonation, speech speed, pausing, filler words, uptick, those are all things you want to be playing around with and thinking of in the way that you speak your words, right? One thing that I'll say from a purely nonverbal perspective, pausing and speech speed are two serious indicators of authority and confidence. If you're racing through what you're saying, it sends the impression and the perception that you actually don't think you have the time or the space to really take time and demonstrate whatever it is that you're trying to say. It makes you feel and sound rushed, right? Instead, it's similar to the posture, right? You want to take up space with your words. And especially when you've said something really important, let it land. Pause. Total hack. If you feel like you've completely lost your audience and you've been talking a lot nonstop, pausing almost always makes people come back to attention. Why? Because there has been a big change. Oh, we got so used to Rachel talking, we just tuned her out. And then she stopped talking, and all of a sudden it was like, wait, did she leave? What happened? Is she frozen? And it's just me leveraging a pause to ensure that you're staying with me, right? And then finally, active listening. I know I've been speaking a lot about ways to show up when you are the speaker and the presenter, but the power of showing that you're active listening, right? Visual listening is just as important and impactful, right? We want to show whoever's speaking that we're present, engaged, and considering what they're saying. That helps us build trust. And in most cases, right, even in a talk like this where I'm doing most of the talking, as soon as someone asks a question, or even when I'm pausing, right, like those are opportunities for me to show you that I'm listening, right? And not very much can go a very long way. So that's basically it for today. Here's just a short little diagram I like to share, and this again will be shared with you, but right, the differences between incorrect posture, correct posture, it's very in line with the physical anchoring exercise we did, and then a short little practice lab right? So this is really for you to consider as concrete next steps and takeaways from this. But after everything we've gone through, right? Lighting, framing, background, posture, eye gaze, facial expression, gestures, vocal cues, active listening, right? Set an intention for yourself in the next meeting, right? And I know you'll probably have many takeaways from this conference, but what is one thing from the session we just did together that you would maybe like to play around with and do differently?
Excellent. Let's give a round of applause to Rachel Cassar. And we did put it in the chat. I'll re-put it in the chat. You really want to try out Virtual Sapiens Sidekick. Again, it will give you these cues on the fly. So for instance, if I lean my head this way, it will start giving me a nudge going, they have a center icon saying, John, maybe you should move to the center. If I stop using my hands for over 10 minutes or whatever the marker is, Rachel's like worked really hard on these algorithms that you'll come back around and it'll give you a prompt saying, oh, maybe you should make a hand gesture. And so it's a really cool piece of technology. It's like having Rachel, not me, in your back pocket or in front of your camera with you, kind of like a ballet coach going, you need to work on your posture, right? Which I never did take ballet. We got a few minutes. All right. Anybody here? Comments or questions? We would love to hear any kudos. Again, you can hit the chat with kudos. Miss Roberta, hold on. You got to see this. She says, I got to anchor myself.
Yes.
It's a beautiful post-it. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Feel free. Comments or questions?
I do see just a quick question, Lori, in the chat. Does the Sidekick, which is the name of the technology, does it specify what hand gestures to use? We actually specifically don't, because we want people to develop that hand gesture vocabulary themselves, right? So there may be an iteration of the product where we do suggest, for example, try playing around with more expansive, bigger hand gestures, because your hand gestures are showing up like this, right? We'll probably get there, but the version of the product currently really just looks at, okay, you've been talking for 2 minutes straight and you haven't used a single hand gesture, right? Consider bringing a hand into the frame, right? And this helps us establish that human connection. It helps us build trust because people like seeing hands, right? We like to see that you're not playing with a phone or that you might have something fiddling away in your pocket, right? There's a reason also in person why having your hands stuffed into your pockets is not a great nonverbal, right?
Lori, can I bring you up? Sure. I think I saw, sure. One of the parts too, Rachel, I would love for you to talk about, you put some bonuses in there. So for like Josh and we have a lot of people here who are gamification experts. What's the big bonus that happens in your program that gives you I think it gives you 4 or 8 presence points?
Yes. Well, actually, John, there's been an update and now we give 30. We give a boost of 30.
What? For doing what?
So, because the way it works, this is what was happening. Let me tell you. Let's say you're using the Sidekick. So it's this little friendly, subtle little dashboard, and you start, talking to someone virtually, and you cover your mouth with your hand, which is a big barrier virtually. It would tell you remove, stop touching your face. So, okay, I've stopped touching my face. I get presence points, like a little clap, and presence points, 1 presence point every time I correct a behavior that's based on a nudge. But if you've been on a streak, so you haven't received a single nudge in 30 seconds, you get 1 presence point per second that you haven't, that you consecutively haven't gotten that nudge for 30 seconds, right? And then your little Virtual Sapiens icon goes on fire. It's super cool. Yeah, it's super cool now, John.
I've totally missed this update.
It's super cool. And then so the reason we had to change it from 2 to 4 was that what was happening was people who were getting lots of nudges and clearing them were actually getting higher scores than people who were really on these streaks, right? Because you'd be on a streak for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and you would get +2, +4. Meanwhile, someone had gotten 6 nudges and had cleared them and they got more presence points than you.
Oh, which was wrong.
Exactly. So we had to change it. Happy to talk gamification with anyone later because I'm fascinated by it.
By
Definitely
the way,
more we could be doing.
If you stick around, Rachel, all the breakout rooms, by the way, are named after our speakers this year. I have named one and put some people randomly with you Rachel, again, you'll be able to move breakout rooms though. So if you want to talk to Rachel afterwards, Lori, do you have any other comments to add or questions for Rachel? Or I just wanted to I was going to comment. I think I know which hand gesture you wanted to use.
Oh, I was just wondering if, just tongue in cheek, so to speak, if your audience wasn't listening, if it specified a particular hand gesture that you might want to use.
Yes. No, I actually wondered because you had your little winky smiley there. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if but yeah. maybe a future iteration. You can give me some ideas.
There you go. On it.
Emphatics, right? Basketball, right? One hand, hello, and some other things like that. Good to see you, Lori. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anybody
I
else?
think it actually segues for me into, as everybody knows, the sign language side of things. So, Rachel, I am your 617 friend. So, and I used to work at the Boston Arts Academy as a sign language interpreter. So there's a lot of like overlap with the kids there and all that kind of stuff. So yay. But also the information was fantastic. I loved every single bit of it. And yes, and that we have to remember about cultures. We have to remember about sign language, that, you know, we're talking in big picture and really upping everybody's game. But I am very curious about, you know, a presenter who is deaf, or a presenter who, like, I'm a Latina, I use my hands a lot, and I'm so curious about, you know, how that plays into the larger picture of the algorithms. And also, just kind of side note, because I'm finally in one place, all the gamification stuff, please hit me up, because I want to gamify my Will Ferry, and I want to talk to everybody. So yeah, it's a yes and I look forward to finding out the ways that we're able to support everybody, because these tools are so powerful, so wonderful, and I can't wait to play around in your game. So thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I mean, what we're very specific about the tool currently supporting Western cultural communication norms, right? That's one thing. So this tool might not necessarily be appropriate for a certain employee at a certain level in an Asian culture, right? Because it actually might come across as too dominant in the types of behaviors we're suggesting. So we're pretty clear about that. In terms of some of the other, like whether it's you're blind, deaf, you know, on the spectrum, whatever, like those things I actually think are pretty fascinating. It would be fascinating to me to develop some changes that would support those populations. I used to do a lot of work before the pandemic with blind people, right? Because especially congenitally blind, so they've been blind their whole life, like they've literally never seen another human move before. So how can they understand body language since we learn through mirroring, right? So a lot of that work I used to really love that work. So I'm curious to see how we can keep that in mind, but always something great to bring up. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe. All right, any other questions? I think we're good. Well, let's do this one more time for Rachel. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much, Rachel. Appreciate that. Let's see, what song do I have for you today? And she is an incredible dancer, of course, as you. There we go.
Thank you.
Coming up tomorrow. Well, number one, did you love all this content today? Here, hold on. Let me bring up the gallery here. Let me see. How much did you love this? Let's just see a show of appreciation for all of our speakers here today. Thank you so much. Coming up tomorrow, by the way, coming up next right after this is some networking and some informal conversations. So if you want to do that, hang around. If you got to go, I know that you got to go. Coming up tomorrow, 9 o'clock, Shelley Golden, the Zoom makeover. How to make your virtual space your space. You got to meet Shelley Golden if you want to figure out like how to make this either virtual or better yet, even your natural background really makeover. She also looks for lots of other things. She has techniques that I have not seen other people use. 10 o'clock, Tyler Paris returning back here. My favorite chief of staff expert is here. He's going to do winning at high stakes virtual meetings. So many of you, if you are in business, you know that there are high stakes virtual meetings, and Tyler has really broken down how to do that because as a chief of staff, you report normally to the CEO, and he's bringing many of his secrets along with him. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I'm going to run a session called Empower Your Next Virtual Meeting with no additional technology, right? So how many of you are kind of resistant for using new technology? I understand, right? That OBS part might have blown you away a little bit. I'm going to tell you, I was inspired by our good friend Elizabeth Gilbert. I put together a session. I use no slides. I don't use any slides. I don't use any tech. And I will show you 8 different ways that you can empower your next virtual meeting with no additional technology. I developed this because this is what people are asking for me. And then at high noon, you got to be here. Miriam Hadness of the Never Done Before community is going to be here, and she's going to do a program called Falling in Love on Zoom. Right? Sounds interesting, right? Might be maybe touch a little nerve. You got to see this session. It is a really, really super cool session. She's one of my favorite top facilitators. So let's do that. So let's see. Before we leave, is anyone interested in how we kind of do this thing? Right? This conference. So let me just share with you. Maybe somebody in the audience is secretly sweating about a virtual conference that you're nervous about virtual fatigue, scared that you may not hit all of your conference high notes. Well, I want to share some behind the scenes with you, right? If you want to host hundreds of people and sleep soundly at night, all right, what you need, oh, well, hold on a second. I have to do this part. This might be you. Like if you've ever felt this way leading up to a virtual conference, this is what a lot of people tell me around that. So what you're looking for is this, the Engaging Virtual Meetings Conference. We've done this for many large virtual conferences, right? We follow our own advice, which is never lead a virtual conference alone. Let our professional producers help you take your stress and worries away. There's 3 simple things that we've done for this program today. And the number 1 is design, right? We'll meet with you, all of your key stakeholders, and we can assess your virtual conference, and we'll help recommend the most engaging techniques for your virtual conference. Things like, in a moment, we're going to show you, we're going to build a virtual hotel inside of Zoom. So these are things that you can do. The next thing that we do is that we lead your rehearsals. All of these big name people who I showed you, we all did rehearsals. And to me, rehearsals are the number 1 factor that helps reduce catastrophic failure during your virtual meeting. I'll say that again, rehearsals. If you're not doing rehearsals, your odds of a catastrophic failure go skyrocketing. And so, like in this case, Elizabeth Gilbert, all we did was improve her mic. And again, she used nothing else in terms of her technology, but that mic was critical because she's a storyteller. And when you hear that vocal quality change from something like a tinny room to this incredible rich vocal quality, she became one of my top keynotes in the last 2 years. The third thing that we do is, of course, production. So we do all this. We push all the right buttons at the right time. We handle the unexpected, and we've had it all, including myself blowing a power fuse and also getting kicked out of a Zoom and having my Zoom crash right at the beginning of a conference. We handle all of that. And by working together as a team, you can focus your attention on your attendees, set your worry aside, and accept all the kudos for a well-run conference. So listen to what a few of the other people who've used Engaging Virtual Meetings Conference had to say.
And as we watched and learned, we knew that we were going to need help running this virtual event. So we reached out to John Chen, who we've been working with since 2008, because what we did with John was something very unique, but it worked.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank John Chen. I wish I had had that tutorial about a year ago when we first started using Zoom. That was outstanding.
This is the time I feel at home. Finally, I'm so happy you put this together.
Absolutely incredible. Phenomenal job. I can't believe how fast the last 2 days went. I can't believe it.
Yeah. No,
I've never seen anything like it. And I was
unbelievable.
Rash talking about it. I was like, you don't even know Zoom. You don't understand Zoom.
Cheers. You don't even know Zoom, right? So that's what our attendees felt like. They felt like burned out actually before the design part. We still talked him into Zoom, but did it in such a way that he said, you don't know Zoom. So this is a price point, but it's just saying, regardless of these are prices for my common programs, but regardless of what's on the screen, through a conversation, I've been able to find the right package for many of my people. And of course, if you sign before October 31st, I've got two super cool things. I've got, I've got this energetic engagement package, right? This is a package that includes all of my latest secrets, so your conference will be perceived as engaging. Your attendees will rave about your conference. Stakeholders will be impressed. In addition to that, for many of you, if you got a VIP package, put your hands in the air. Thank you so much for those who have their VIP background. You get one of these. We'll send these to your VIPs. This is a super high-touch element to your VIPs so that they'll feel blown away by you and your conference. Hey, I got 6 spots later on today if you do have a conference that you want to meet, but most importantly, we're going to get on to the meeting part. We're going to do this. Everyone here, wave goodbye to our live stream audience.